best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I was telling the team in here, I said, a lot of times, and this is true, I make notes on what I'm going to do. I over-prepare. Kind of joking, too.
Yeah.
But today,
Yes.
I maybe the word is I prepare, not over-prepare, like when I write notes to myself.
Well,
I do it kind
yes.
of like a set list. So, like with the Open in particular, we have segments because Fred puts all this stuff together. I barely do anything. You know that. Fred's the guy that, does everything.
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
So I got my show sheet here, and I know what I'm doing, like when my interviews are coming up, and then Ethan knows who to call, and Fred knows all that stuff. But so what I'm going to do in the opening segment is where I tick off a bunch of things. I'm like, I want to cover this, I want to cover that. I didn't do that today.
Okay.
I don't really know why I didn't do that today. No, I can tell you.
Yeah, because you rarely stick to it.
We
end
is
up
that.
going through life stories.
It's a loose outline.
Sometimes, though, really, I do want to make points in the open and hammer them home. And today actually might be one of those days because I do have something on my mind. But let's kind of lay out the show before we do that, because Phil Holloway is going to join us at 3:18. I covered this Miranda Devine report from the New York Post on Thomas Crooks and the weird digital background that is apparently now clear from a private investigator that was not cleared by the FBI. We're very confused about that. Yeah, because, when you listen to what this private, it's a source that is unnamed in Miranda's reporting, and whoever this guy was able to track down a completely different narrative with Thomas Crooks than we previously had. And you and I, we've all said, hey, why don't we know more about this guy? So then the question becomes, well, okay, is this a cover-up of some sort? Or
it may be.
I don't know.
knows?
And I'm not conspiratorial, but Phil will cover that. Yesterday we talked about taxes, well, not taxes, but deficits, taxpayer dollars being wasted in St. Louis County. And Tom Sullivan, who's a public watchdog guy, he's always there at the county council meetings, and Tom always emails me. Every week I get emails, and I read them. He might not know this, but I actually read the emails that he sends to me.
Good.
And, he's done this for years. And I do pay attention because he raises really good points, and I thought he raised a bunch of great points about the money, and where it's going to go to do things in St. Louis County without any kind of tax increase, and where the cutbacks are and some of the money decisions that have made. He put some of this on the council, and I think he points out that maybe some of the right questions are not being asked to council members. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We have Sue's News, of course, on a Tuesday. Senator Schmitt is going to join us this afternoon. Josh Hammer from Newsweek as well. It's interesting. We talked to Josh about a lot of national politics, international politics. He obviously has commented quite a bit on Israel. He has a show that airs every Saturday here on 97.1 FM Talk at 1 p.m. And Sue, that I am a fan of sports wagering.
Yeah.
And I have been for a while. And, I certainly can't wait for it to come to Missouri. Now, Josh wrote a column that was out yesterday that really described the evils and some of the things that we're seeing come to fruition here that we were warned about when it comes to sports wagering and young men in particular. And I'll have to say, as someone who is a proponent of allowing this to happen legally, I also can see that some of the things that were predicted are coming to fruition maybe a little bit too soon, and something has to be done about it. Now, look, my position would be the genie's out of the bottle. We're not going to be banning sports wagering, but there are things that these sports leagues can do in the aftermath of some of the scandals that have popped up to minimize the potential damage and the integrity of the sport. Fred, I don't know if you have this reaction or not. What was the game that I was watching? It seems, and it's just human nature. One of the football games from Sunday that I'm watching, there were a couple of there was an extra point and missed field goal, right? And they were bad shanks by, what game was it? By someone who doesn't miss. So I'm not saying he missed on purpose.
You had that with a punt the other
right.
week. You said it was horrible.
Right. And it's like, and I think it was just a shank. It was an accident, right? But in the aftermath of all these
Oh, yeah,
stories that have
makes you
come out,
think.
you start thinking, wait a second, that was a pretty easy kick, or that was a pretty easy catch that you're dropping. And I'm not accusing anyone of doing anything nefarious. I'm just saying my brain has gone there simply because
It should.
Right. Well, that's part of the problems. We'll have Frank Miele on tonight, too, who will talk politics with us. But let me get into, I thought this was interesting, and I'm not really sure why she did this. Uh-oh. I already made a mistake here in this story, and I'm going to have to explain it to you, because what happened is that Channel 4 and David Amoletti, who's the reporter over there, one of the investigative reporters, sat down with the former SEMA director, Sarah Russell, for an interview. She's the one who wasn't doing her job during the tornado on May 16th. And what I didn't know, I learned a couple of things here, and I think some of this we knew. I have to be very careful because I just said the word she. It's not allowed with Sarah Russell, okay? And credit to CAMOV for protecting the identifiers here, because that's important. That really is the most important part of the story. It's not making sure that people in North St. Louis who've had their lives destroyed and are still sitting under rumble, it's not because they're the important issue here. It's because we got to protect Sarah Russell, and she's a they, them. So when we write the story, it says it's their first time speaking since the tornado silence, and then there's theys. And then at the end, this is maybe my favorite line at the end, Russell is appealing their termination through the Civil Service Commission. You know, I'd be curious about this. This is a serious question. I probably won't get an answer. I'm not criticizing David in his reporting, but here's the question that I would have. I probably could find this out. I wonder if it was David Amoletti who was doing the they, them, or if it was an editor at Channel 4 saying, oh, we got to do the they, them.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, either way,
It's
you know
screwing
what?
up the English language.
Here's what I'm going to say. Sarah Russell is a she, and if she wants to be a he, then I'll call her a he. Okay, but she's a she. Let's just say that. My apologies to the alphabet mafia out there. But beyond that, why is she talking? So one of the things that we didn't know here, and this will be interesting, is that last line that I mentioned is Russell is appealing their termination through the Civil Service Commission. So she wants her job back, or she wants money. She wants to get paid for screwing up her job. And I'm not accusing her of costing lives, because there is a question here, and I'll come back after the audio and I'll explain my opinion on this. But here's one of the questions.
The outdoor sirens are to activate and notify people outside to get indoors. Correct. We know 5 people died in that May 16 tornado. Was any of those deaths a result of the siren failure that day?
I really can't speak to it. You know, obviously anything that can be prevented, we always wanted to do that. I'm, very sorry for all of the losses that happened in that tornado, but I don't know what the difference makes.
I don't know if it would have made a difference either, but I mean, it would have certainly been something that people could have taken into account, right? I mean, you can say no matter if the sirens go off or not, the damage is the same because the tornado whips through and it has no the sirens are not going to affect the path of the tornado. Now, would it have allowed people to react in a different way? Maybe. I guess we'll never know that. Here's another question here from this interview.
The report goes as far as saying that they were disappointed with you not taking accountability for things that went wrong.
I don't know where they get that from, honestly. I've tried to be very forward and transparent with my supervisors, with everyone that I can be. This is my community. If people ask me a question, I've always tried to answer it as much as I possibly can.
Follow-up question, David. Here we go. I went to J School at Mizzou. I know a little bit about journalism, and maybe this just got edited out. Follow-up question. But Sarah, Sarah, the report specifically said you weren't doing your freaking job and you were down at a seminar, a touchy-feely seminar about, all this woke nonsense. And then even then, you didn't leave. So how about some pushback on her or they, them, and say, wait, the report is very specific here in the criticisms of what you were not doing and you were supposed to be doing, Sarah. Why weren't you doing your job? So he gives her a pretty good pass here.
Anything you would have done differently regarding May 16th? Or do you stand by the actions that you took?
Knowing what I know now, the only true mistake that I feel was made on that day was that we did what we always did and we trusted the St. Louis Fire Department.
You feel the fire department dropped the ball that day?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to necessarily point the finger.
you
I
are.
questions like everybody else does. And I don't have hope that I'll ever have those answers.
Oh my God! So that
Holy cow! And
clearly,
wait
I
a
was
minute.
saving the most egregious bite for last. That is utterly ridiculous. So she's blaming Jankerson, the fire chief.
So right after they say, well, they'd say that you're not taking responsibility, she's, oh, yes, I am. It's the fire department's fault.
Yeah, that's pretty. I'll say ballsy because in this case, you just don't know, right? Here's the fire chief, Jankerson.
The fire department declined an interview for this story, but in a statement to First Alert 4, Chief Jankerson says the city's warning system is now fully automated with a manual override, and the department now maintains continuous 24-hour contact with the National Weather Service to safeguard residents and strengthen the city's overall emergency preparedness.
Yeah, well, Chief Jankerson used to be my neighbor a while back, and I believe in private he would have said something a little different than that statement that was nice and clean and washed for everyone to hear. Here's Mayor Spencer.
For so many thousands of families that are still distraught, devastated by the tornado, the city is standing up what we can.
After our interview with Russell, we took their concerns to Mayor Kara Spencer, who disagrees with the former commissioner.
Their concerns. I'm so confused by that. Whose concerns? Was it a bunch of different people, or was it just Sarah?
She says the button to sound the sirens was disconnected from the system. The system, then Commissioner Russell, was responsible for maintaining.
It's important that when you press a button, the button works.
6 months later, Mayor Spencer stresses the system no longer requires a human to sound the alarm.
I think the important thing here really is making sure we're moving forward in a way that not only builds trust, but actually delivers the emergency response all of our residents rely on for the health and well-being of our community.
Okay, let me help Kara here a little bit, too, because that needed to be a little stronger. I was trying to help David with the journalism. Hopefully he'll take some tips here from a seasoned veteran that's in the chair this afternoon. Sue's just shaking her head. I love when you do this. But Kara, the mayor, would say also, but let's make something clear here. Sarah Russell was a key part in this failure.
Yes.
And the report was very clear. This is not debatable whatsoever, which is why she lost her job. And she should have been fired on day one, and she wasn't. And that was the only mistake that I made, people of St. Louis, and I apologize for that. She's gone, and it is utterly embarrassing and ridiculous that she's appealing this dismissal to the Civil Service Commission. And I hope that the people of St. Louis will get the justice that they deserve here, and that the Civil Service Commission will say, F you, they, them, go away.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is an accident reported on southbound 270 approaching Olive. Watch for that in the left lane, and we already have a jam that's back toward Dorset. Now, westbound 70 looks pretty good out of downtown. Little slow, headed for K. 64, that's lined up Kings Highway out through McCausland. A little bit of volume at 270, and then it opens up. Eastbound is slowing at 270, but it's just moderate volume. Westbound 44 slowing at 270, and southbound 55. That's a slow go, mainly right there at Bates. And if you're headed into Illinois, we look fine on the bridges downtown, but westbound traffic is slow, all due to road work as you head toward 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Mark Cox here. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
First responders get in the ring for the 38th Budweiser Guns N' Hoses presented by Stiefel. It's the biggest holiday party of the year, the night before Thanksgiving at Enterprise Center. Get your tickets now at STLGunsandHoses.com. It's go time.
For 100 years, KMOX has been part of St. Louis. Now, Together Credit Union is helping celebrate that legacy. Starting in November, visit any Together Credit Union branch to pick up a KMOX 100th anniversary commemorative ornament for just $5 while supplies last. Each ornament supports Children's Miracle Network of Greater St. Louis. Together Credit Union, honoring 100 years of KMOX, the voice of St. Louis, and Children's Miracle Network of Greater St. Louis, improving the health of all children.
Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Windows specialist. With winter just around the corner, now is the time to think about Pella Windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction 314-569-1050 to schedule your free in-home consultation, or the website bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Congressman Jason Smith is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Congressman Jason Smith at 202-225-4404 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance. Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
I went over this a little bit yesterday with some interesting reporting in the New York Post from Miranda Devine on Thomas Crooks, the Butler would-be assassin. We just still have a lot of questions about him. And Phil Holloway, Fox News legal analyst, former assistant DA, former police officer, with us here on 97.1 FM Talk. Phil, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing great, brother. I hope you are.
We
Always
are.
happy to be with you.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well here. We got a nice warm day in St. Louis, and we've had weird weather. I don't know about you guys down in Atlanta, but it's been warm, like almost near 80 some days, and then it's in the the 30s, so kind of back and forth here at the early start of fall.
Yeah, it's like the whipsaw that's back and forth. And it's also the time when everybody starts to get their head colds. It's no wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's talk a little bit here. I find it interesting that you and I and a lot of us have talked for months now, more than a year, about this Thomas Crooks guy in Pennsylvania saying, wait a second, why don't we know more about this? And we had some reporting this week from Miranda Devine that was sourced reporting, anonymous source, that kind of uncovered this amazing digital footprint that apparently we didn't know existed.
Yeah, so here's the thing. This all turns on the credibility, doesn't it, of Miranda Devine's source. Now, I'm not accusing her of having a source that's not credible or anything like that, but the point is we just don't know. Either the source is mistaken, but look, she appears to have receipts, right? There appears to be some actual corroboration to this. So let's assume that the source is above board and being truthful about all this, and it's accurate. Then the real disturbing question is, was the FBI hiding this from us, or did they just not know? Are they incompetent, or are they being disingenuous? That's really the choice that we're left with if you assume the information is accurate, which it does on its face appear to be. So it's very troubling. This is one of those things. You've got a attempted assassination on a former president, then candidate, who, of course, now is the president again, and we have a vacuum of information. There's literally been nothing out of the investigative authorities, Secret Service, FBI, whoever, to give us any information to explain why this national leader of the United States nearly lost his life, and obviously others did.
And Phil, as you know, with the reporting that Miranda had in the source, it's very detailed. And what's weird is, this narrative is all over the board, because it looks like, if you believe this, that he has comments when he was pretty young, like 15, 16 years old, and he was becoming violent, but he was pro-Trump at the time. And then something happened where he turned, and then, it gets a little crazy very, very quickly. I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know what else, it could have been at that time, but clearly he he shifts in a different direction completely, and he looks like he's kind of shopping for support for an assassination.
This is a very dark and troubling question. What was it that made him pivot and do basically a 180 at that age? I think it's certainly COVID took its toll on all people, really. I mean, as far as our mental health goes, but certainly that particular age group was hit really, really hard. And, look, this is the time when a lot of kids got put on SSRIs. They might be spending more time online. They might be exposing themselves to other influences. Something happened to cause this kid apparently to switch ideological beliefs to the point where he's, developing a furry fetish, if you believe the reporting.
Right.
And all the things that go along with that, because there certainly is a common denominator here between this sort of assassination culture and the furry fetish and all the things attendant to that sort of lifestyle, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's really troubling. And I don't know if we're going to figure this out completely in our lifetime, but there's something that causes these young people to just, flip and turn into assassins like we saw, unfortunately, with Charlie Kirk as well.
This is very bizarre. One thing that's strange to me, so Senator Ron Johnson up in Wisconsin, I know Ron a little bit from my days. Well, actually, he was after I left Milwaukee, but I got to know him because he got involved in one of our races here. But he said that he had tried to obtain information from the FBI over the summer, and he was forced to issue a subpoena. So let's go back to the FBI because the behavior there is weird. And here's something else that's weird. Why wouldn't, I'm not saying anything conspiratorial here, but why wouldn't the president put a little bit more pressure on? Carolyn Levitt has said some things, but why wouldn't the president himself say, hey, we've got some weird stuff around this kid. Why can't we get to the bottom of it and see what the truth is?
Well, look, I'm very good at speculating. It's one of my strong suits. But if I had to speculate, I believe that the president, being the victim or one of the victims in the case, he knows what happened. He knows what the FBI knows. He knows all the details. Since he's a victim and also because he's the chief executive, he knows. Now, you would hope that if they're not released, there's some type of a good reason for it. Somebody needs to tell us either we knew about Crook, didn't tell you because XYZ reason, or no, this was news to us. We need some information. We can't just have this vacuum of information because guess where conspiracy theories are born? And
That's
it's
right.
born in an information vacuum. And so that's where we are. And somebody in the administration needs to go ahead and direct the FBI and the Secret Service and any other agencies to just come forward. Tell us what they know. Tell us what happened. There's nobody to be prosecuted. You don't have to worry about anybody's rights being violated by releasing the evidence. Spill the beans. Tell us what happened.
Phil Holloway is with us this afternoon. Let me ask you this question. As you know, we haven't spoken since Mamdani won a couple of weeks ago, and obviously the writing was on the wall. That was no surprise. We've heard some things, no surprise here either, Phil, that cops are maybe going to leave like crazy, that you have departments all over the country that are recruiting New York City cops. ICE is saying, hey, join us. I mean, this bleak situation, and I love New York City. I've been to Manhattan many times, but they're going to get what they deserve here with Mamdani, and it could become really, really dangerous if they're not careful.
So I was having lunch the other day with a police, let's just say a police manager who I'm close with, and we kind of talked about this. And agencies here in the Atlanta area where I am, they're actively recruiting NYPD officers, and they're getting lots of applications. They're getting lots of folks coming from New York and the surrounding areas. Maybe they're not NYPD, maybe they're from another law enforcement agency in the area, but we're getting applications here. Georgia is still more or less a red state. Certainly places like Florida are appealing as well, and of course other states. But the fact of the matter is NYPD is in deep trouble. We saw the head of the fire department. It's already left. We're going to see the roles and the ranks in that department are going to be decimated. They're going to be in really, really bad shape. And I don't know what the answer is other than New York voted for it. They're going to have to live with it, apparently.
That's right. Hey, on Fox this morning, I saw a story about this cheerleader who died on the Carnival Horizon cruise ship. Well, what's going on with that?
All right, so that's Anna Kepner. That's one of the things we're talking about today and tomorrow on our show, MK True Crime. Check it out over on YouTube and, of course, everywhere you get your podcast. But this 18-year-old cheerleader, Anna Kepner, okay, she was a Florida teen. Now it's being reported that she was found dead in her cabin on November 7th while on a 6-day Caribbean cruise with her family on the Carnival Horizon. And the reporting darkly is that a maid found her wrapped in a blanket and stuffed under a bed and I think covered with life jackets. So the whole thing is a mystery. There's someone that went on X claiming to be the uncle who said that she was allegedly killed by a stepbrother. We don't know if that's corroborated or not, but at least we know that claim was out there, and that's now since been taken down. But some of the details that were mentioned in that post on X have now been apparently confirmed by the Daily Mail and other media outlets. So, there's a vacuum of information here, too, because once again, we have the FBI. There's already been an autopsy. We know how she died, or they do. But they've not had a press conference. They've not done anything to explain to the public what's going on here in this case. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why they would not at least do some kind of a press conference to say what they know, because the post-mortem examination has already been complete. They know a lot more, but they're just being so tight-lipped that, once again, we've got conspiracy theories already bubbling up.
Exactly. To your point. We just made that point a few minutes ago. And by the way, MK True Crime is the great series that Phil does with Megyn Kelly that started a few months back. Awesome. We got to check that out. Thank you so much for jumping on here. Have a great Thanksgiving. I probably won't speak with you before then. Phil, it's always great to have you on.
Thanks, brother.
All
You
right,
too. Happy
take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, if you're just hitting the roadways and you're headed out on westbound 70, we actually look pretty good out of downtown. There's some moderate volume past the airport at between 79 and K. The accident southbound 270, south of Page, approaching Olive. They've been working to get that from the left lane off to the right shoulder, but there's a delay behind it. Westbound 40 lines up Kings Highway in pockets out through 270, and then it's all right. At southbound 270, there was an accident reported near Gravois, some slow going there, and on southbound 55 from south of Arsenal down through just north of Bates. We look good if you're headed into Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyHomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
Hey, we have tickets to give away this afternoon for Guns N' Hoses and for Foreigner and Leonard Skinner at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater coming up a little bit later this afternoon. Let's talk about Mike Reynolds and his team at Michael's Flooring Outlet. They have such great customer service and so many products. It's a variety of products. It can be a little overwhelming, which is why I always encourage you to trust the experts, not someone who's been in the flooring industry for a matter of weeks or months. How about some folks that have done this for decades here in St. Louis? If you go online to igotfloor.com, you can see a variety of choices at the top of the website. If you click on inspiration, there's where you can kind of visualize your room. You can view some galleries, and the galleries are amazing. There's so many different options when it comes to flooring, hard flooring, soft flooring, different price points, different protection depending on your lifestyle. But they have a carpet gallery, a hardwood gallery, a laminate gallery, a tile gallery, a luxury vinyl gallery, a vinyl gallery, a stone gallery, and they have glass tile gallery for your bathrooms as well. So get with Michael's at one of the 3 great locations, open every day except for Sunday. They're in Old Town St. Peters, in Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. igotfloor.com.
This is Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. When I tell people who get in a crash, call a lawyer, but I often hear, I'm not the suing type. Listen, there are all types of people. Personally, I'm not the getting screwed type. If you're not the getting screwed type, call my firm, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen to you. Call Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
Hey, Stewie, I need some cash. I need money. Who doesn't need money? What can you do for me?
You know, and Annie, this is a question people ask all the time. Now, pay attention because this is important. Don't get a home equity line of credit. A home equity line of credit is a credit card in your house. It's typically not a fixed rate, so it's an adjustable. You pay interest only. And there's a short-term opportunity to take the money out, and then later on, it turns into a loan that's a really high interest rate. Cash out refinance. That's the most important thing. Refinance your entire mortgage. Get the best rate that's out there. Give yourself the opportunity to refinance later when the rates drop. A cash out refinance is a little bit higher of a rate than a rate and term refinance. Do the cash out now, set yourself up for the future, and get the best deal out there. Just do me one favor. Don't tell my wife about this because she's going to want all the cash in the world to buy a new car.
Well, if you want to know more, Google the bagel loan to find out more information or call my friend Stewie, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health from Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health from Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill, or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Collinsville to Chesterfield, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, actually, so I meant to go to Barnes & Noble to get Jennings' book today because I didn't do, I have a digital copy of it, but, you know, I want to get the hard copy.
Same, yeah.
No, exactly. And, you know, one thing he did not tell us yesterday, and I didn't learn this until after the show, is that he was in the Oval Office with the president. The president signed his book. Again, Scott's book came out today. He's been doing the media rounds. And he was on this show yesterday about 24 hours ago. You can always use the rewind function, although if it's after 24 hours, you can't. So everything I just said, I lied about. You have to go to the podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you can get it as a
Well,
podcast.
you can go back 24 hours and listen to the segment after Scott's yesterday, but we're past the window is what I'm saying. But it really was great. And then we had Joe Arnold join us in the 5 o'clock hour, and Joe interviewed Scott, and you heard that here in the 8 o'clock hour on 97.1 FM Talk. You know, I told Joe last night, we were kind of communicating after the show, I think a younger version of myself, Jennings is younger than Joe and I, you know, by about 10 or 12 years. I think I'd be very jealous of Scott Jennings if I was a younger Mark Reardon. But I'm so happy for him, and I'm past.
That's nice.
I'm
nice
already
you're
past my
that.
prime and all that caring about stuff. Remember, Sue, I used to care what I look like. Now I don't care what I look like. I wish I would have learned a lot of these things in the past. It could have saved myself a lot of time, money, and trouble.
Yep.
I will say that. One of the other topics that we talked about yesterday was Mike Archer, who is one of the new council people in St. Louis County, is the situation with the county budget. We've known this for a while, that there's a deficit. It's significant. What's going to happen? How are they going to solve that? Will taxes be raised? Are they going to use the Rams money? These are discussions that are ongoing right now. And I mentioned earlier, Tom Sullivan, who is a longtime public watchdog, and he keeps track of all these things. He sends out emails regularly with, questions, complaints, things that maybe some of the rest of us in the media should be looking into. And he did that on this particular topic. And Tom joins me this afternoon to talk about some of this. Hello, Tom Sullivan. How are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm doing fine.
So this really did catch my attention because you were mentioning how Rita Hurdace, who is the chair of the council, was interviewed. And I don't want to pick on Jason Rosenbaum because I think he's a pretty good reporter, and there are not many good reporters in this town. He's at the government formerly subsidized station NPR, and she says, "I can't explain how dire it really is," but your point is maybe the follow-up should have been, look, you've been council chair for 3 of the past 5 years. Shouldn't you deserve some of the blame for the budget deficit, right?
Right. I almost fell off my chair when she said that we need to get control of the spending. Well, she's been on the council for 6 years. She's been council chair for 3 of the last 5 years, and now she's just figuring out that they need to get control of the spending because it's now gone up. The total deficit now is given at $82 million. Not that long ago, it was $40 million. And last month, it jumped to 61 when Sam Page came out with a message to the council, and now it's up to $82 million. And no one and the media is ever really explaining why or how it got to be that high.
Well, that's actually a really good question, and one that I didn't pick up on yesterday. But yeah, Sue, listen to the numbers. It was $40 million, then it's $61 million, now it's $82 million. Tom, to your point, what prevents it from being over $100 million before they even make any decisions on this? So the numbers and the math in and of themselves, the math should be kind of questioned at this point. I don't know when you follow some of this, and by the way, Tom, Sam Page isn't even showing up to these meetings still, is he?
Oh, he's doing better, but he misses one every once in a while.
Okay, so he is showing up. What is he saying about this particular crisis? Is he commenting on how he'd like to solve this?
Sam Page has said that his idea is simply to take $59 million from the Rams money, and also I think they've got some money that's in a other fund that they might be using. But then he wants to come up with a tax on internet purchases for next spring. So that is one way of going about it, but the council members are saying, no, we don't want to do that. So they're saying that, they want to spend that money for the legacy projects. And so they say they want to cut the budget. And what's kind of odd is we have all these council members going throughout the media talking about how bad things are going to be, and they got all this gloom and doom, and it's hard to figure just what their plan is.
Well, obviously, and then as you point out, look, the interview that Jason did was kind of followed up by the story that I talked about yesterday from the Post-Dispatch, and I had Councilman Archer on, which kind of dealt with the fact that maybe the police and the health budgets get a hard look. That kind of grabs your attention. That was a good headline to get you to, click on that. But these are some of the realities that they're dealing with in St. Louis County right now. What is your understanding when they say a legacy project? What is your understanding of what that might include?
Well, I think they just want something other than for operating expenses. In other words, I think they feel that just general revenue for paying for the police and paying to run the parks and all that. That's not something that they want. They want something that's going to be sort of like a something that's beyond just a regular operating fund. Something that's going to be going to be around for some time. I'm not quite understanding how they came up with all that, but it seems to me that the first thing they need to do is to take care of the situation that they have, which of course is police and parks, and then they have the situation with the animal shelter, which has been a ongoing problem for as long as I can remember.
Absolutely.
So I think the first thing they need to do is to take care of the problems that have been presenting themselves and worry about legacy projects somewhere down the line.
You said that the county is giving annually $200 million a year to Bi-State?
Yeah, right now it's going up to $200 million. That is they do have their own tax for that, but it's an incredible amount of money, especially since the fact that people have been complaining for a long time that they can't get to work on public transit using Bi-State. There's complaints about buses not showing up, buses being late, et cetera, and the council basically ignores all those complaints, and they just fork over the money. And now Bi-State comes back, and in addition to the big hit they got already, they want another $25 million. I don't think they're going to get it, but I mean, it's just the amount of money that they're getting is pretty fantastic. You're talking about $1 billion in the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Look, even some of the other math equations you put in here, there's $110 million for the subsidy for the Cardinals. You have $56 million that the county was shortchanged in the Rams settlement money. They tried to pass Proposition B. That cost $520,000. So these all things, even some of the nickel and dime stuff, which is not really a nickel or a dime, it adds up if you start, really compiling the list of all these things. The other issue that caught my attention here, and this is a problem for the entire region, obviously, is crime and poor schools. And one of the issues that you address here are how, they're especially acute in North County. Obviously, that's part of the challenge that we have here in St. Louis County. But you said that Spanish Lake was once listed as the 6th fastest dying town in America by Forbes.
That is correct. That's a rather incredible statistic. They've had, what often happens is when crime goes up, the quality of schools go down, there go the residents, and that is what's happened in that particular area. And one thing I mentioned, too, there was an apartment complex in Spanish Lake that had 3,600 calls to the county police in an 18-month period.
That is stunning. That's an incredible number.
Is.
Yeah. Well, so 3,600 calls in an 18-month period at one apartment complex is what you're saying.
Correct. When I first read that in the paper, I thought they made a typo. I thought it was 360, and I checked on it, and no, that's the correct amount, 3,600.
So, Tom, do you have any hope that some of these, the makeup of the council and the way that these votes are decided, and, I guess they certainly seem to have enough support to go against Sam Page when it comes to his priorities, but do you feel like the Republican members of the council are doing some of the things that they should do as well?
No, not necessarily. The Republicans have joined in with the Democrats to a certain extent. Well, there's basically two parties in the county council. There's the Sam Page supporters, and that's only
Two.
one. That's Lisa Clancy.
We're down to one, right? Yeah.
Right, and the other six are Page antagonists. So that's the situation that you have, and it doesn't make for a very good working relationship. There's just Sam Page is a pretty stubborn guy, and there's people on the council who are pretty stubborn too. So what happens is things don't get done.
Yeah, things don't get done. They kick the can, and then these numbers grow, right? I'm a betting man. If you're a betting man, you take $82 million. You're probably going to see a bigger number than that when we talk about it in the spring or whenever they start to address some of these issues.
Yeah, I was saying that they may hit $100 million by the end of the year at the rate that they're going. So we'll see what happens there, but hopefully they'll put a clamp on it.
Keep on them, Tom. Thanks for jumping on this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Southbound 55 drivers, it's the usual volume for you, and that's Arsenal on down through just before Bates. We've got some moderate volume before Herculaneum as well, but that's not bad. That, of course, at Highway Z. Now, westbound 6440. That's lining up Kings Highway in pockets really through 270. Then it opens up. We've got moderate volume at the Boom Bridge before it looks better. 70 westbound, a little slow past the airport and approaching K. We still have a jam on southbound 270. There was an accident in the left lane south of Page, and they've been working to get that off to the shoulder, but now they've got the two left lanes blocked. And traffic is really jammed behind it. By the way, southbound 270, most of the volume is headed for Gravois, where we had another accident. And 255, as you head east, a little slow, headed for Telegraph, an accident there as well. This report brought to you by Aspen Contracting. And if your siding is having a problem and making your whole house look bad, Aspen Contracting can help. Call them today for your free siding inspection, 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I want to talk about Banner Construction and my friends over there who do great work, and they have been since 1993. Bill Kaufman and Sam P. What they do is they make your home look better, and that makes you feel better because they're working with great products, and you're going to have a great customer service experience. Now, I will say that when I say big projects, you got to get on the horn. We're talking about the pre-winter window event at Banner right now. They deal with all kinds of types and styles of windows. They specialize in Pella windows. Pella is a great company, probably the leader in the window and door industry, and they've been around for 100 years this year. New windows and doors can really not only improve the look of your home, but affect the energy efficiency, noise reduction. You don't have to worry about hearing your neighbor cut the lawn at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday when you have better doors from Pella, and get some windows and doors and things that are more energy efficient and that really fit your home and make your home look spectacular, maybe by adding James Hardy fiber cement siding as well. They specialize in all of that in St. Louis at Banner Construction since 1993. 569-1050, bannerconstruction.com.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Let's support our first responders. Inter Responder Rescue's ATF raffle. Prizes include top shelf bourbon, a lit cigar lounge VIP night, and a CZ P10 pistol from the range. Text responder to 33100 to enter today.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Land Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
If you're hosting for the holidays like we are, don't let Thanksgiving spills leave a stain. Mark Cox here. Call Zero Res. Their patented cleaning technology lifts out even the toughest gravy, cranberry sauce, or pumpkin pie disasters without soap or residue, so your home stays cleaner longer. You know, some people are going to hire that deal of the day carpet cleaner, try to save a little money, but trust shouldn't come that easy. Don't do it yourself. Call Zero Res because you know it's safe and effective. Go ahead and get clean. Don't miss this deal. They have a 4.9 rating on Google with over 5,900 reviews. 3 rooms of carpet clean right now starting at $139 with $50 off air duct cleaning. Call 314-474-2020 and ask for the 97.1 special. That's 314-474-2020 or go online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
Sponsored by Progressive. We make the claims process easy so you can get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at Progressive.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So, Sue, I know you know this. I'm going to see a screening of Wicked tonight with my daughter.
Very nice.
My wife is out of town, so I have some logistical challenges because the screening's at 7 o'clock and we are sitting downtown and I have to get my daughter. So I'm kind of working on this. And Hannah Gibbs, who used to be here at 97.1 FM Talk, who's on the morning show on Y98, our sister station, in the studio next to us. Hannah, several years ago, started hanging with Alexa and really helping me out. So I bribed her to drive Alexa to me tonight and grab her a little dinner beforehand.
It's nice of her to do.
It is nice of her, but so I'm trying to communicate with my daughter about all this because when she left here's another challenge that I had. So I dropped Alexa off at school this morning, and then I was going to go and drop Max off, the puppy, at daycare. I'm like, wait a second, I can't do that because I have no time to pick him up. So I'm sending my daughter a series of text messages and just kind of expecting that she will see this information when she gets off school. And here's her response to me. You tell me what your dad would have done if you said this. Bro, I was in class all day. I heard ding, ding, ding. I'm like, well, you can turn off your phone, first of all, and you can turn off the volume and turn the ringer. And then I said ding dong. But she's telling me, she's broing
You're
me.
interrupting her. Plus, the fact that she calls you bro,
well,
I don't even.
Sometimes
it's
it's
like
bra.
a bra.
Sometimes it's bra. Sometimes
bra.
it's bro. This one was bro. You know how we're told, let's shift gears here dramatically. You know how we're told by the trans activists out there that there's no trans athletes out there. This is a big problem that the conservatives or Republicans like to make a big deal out of this, and no one's really affected. Well, here we go again. Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Skyline girls volleyball team has advanced to the Michigan Division I quarterfinals with a win the other day over Saline. Their next opponent is a school by the name of Byron Center. And Skyline, the team that just advanced, has a trans-identifying biological male in its starting lineup. Now, they're not using the name here. Outkick, Clay Travis has been really good at, uncovering some of this stuff with, some of the traditional folks that have fought against this nonsense, like Riley Gaines, et cetera. So, according to an email that was written by Brady Lake, who is the Byron Center athletic director. Now, keep in mind, this is the school that doesn't have the trans athlete. He sends an email to parents, and he says the biggest threat to his school advancing in the state high school volleyball tournament is not a male opponent, but potential protests by the parents of Byron Center who believe that Skyline has an unfair advantage. So he says, and this is, if this ever comes up with my daughter or the school situation, I'm going to lose my what. So the email from the athletic director says, please trust me when I say that the biggest threat to our success on Tuesday is not on the court. It is the distraction to our girls that will come from those around them fixating on this story. Really?
What?
I mean, here's what I'll tell you. That, when we had this controversy over the summer up in Minnesota with the boy that was, blowing the fastballs by these girls where they couldn't even swing and they won the state championship. Remember, I told you, I have a young girl that lives next door to me who plays softball for Rockwood Summit. All these girls, they're aware that this stuff is happening, right? So these parents are aware of what's happening, and they shouldn't stand for it. So I completely disagree with the athletic director. I hope that what happens this weekend is that every single girl, biological girl on that team, sits down on the court, says, we are not going to play. Now, they probably won't do this, right? And then you're taking away the opportunity for them to win. But it's just ridiculous that this keeps happening. The email encouraged parents to not protest the presence of the transgender player. It says Tuesday night, that's tonight, needs to be about crazy bibs, orange beards, pictures on sticks, and bulldog power chants. And, of course, the respect and sportsmanship that BC has become known for. Anything other than that will be a huge disservice to our girls who deserve nothing but the best version of their community behind them. That's quite something when you really think about it, that's a huge disservice to our girls. The huge disservice to our girls is the boy with the penis that's on the opposing team. I don't know why that's so hard.
I don't
And
either.
why someone in an administrative position at a school that is clearly going to be disadvantaged because a male is competing against his team that's full of biological women, why he has to stand up for the trans athlete. Now, this has been fascinating to me all along, and this is what's happened. The pattern has been to tell these girls, and I'd be very curious to see what the coach of the team, will tell them, because even if the girls have questions about this, and they do, everyone's going to be talking about it, right? The coach and the athletic department are going to do exactly what happened with Riley Gaines and Paul Scanlon and some of the others. They're going to be pulled in, and they're going to be told, this is about a bigger moment than you, right? Don't you get involved in this because this is bigger than the sport. It's about human rights and all this other stuff with the alphabet mafia, blah, blah, blah. But there
It's
comes
just
a time,
about fairness. Yeah.
It is about fairness. And there comes a time where I hope the parents ignore the athletic director here and protest, because it's unacceptable that this happens. Now, I guess what happens is in Michigan, this is another interesting angle of this. If you have transgender athletes who are born male and they want to compete on a girls' team, you have to apply and receive a waiver from the Michigan High School Athletic Association to be eligible for postseason competition. Apparently, you can play in regular season, but not postseason. The organization told Outkick in September, this is when they first covered this trans player, that it had not granted any waivers since last fall. And the waivers have to be approved every year, but they've ignored multiple follow-up requests asking if one has since been granted. That seems to be a rather important part of the story, right? So if there's not a waiver here, then this person should not be eligible to play in the postseason. I don't know why they'd be able to, play during the regular season, but that's unacceptable. So we'll see what happens. The game is tonight. We'll see if the parents get involved, or if they don't, or if the team wins, and then this becomes not a controversy. We'll come back with, I got a couple of things. Did you see President Trump yesterday addressing his love of McDonald's?
No.
We'll get into that. And there's an interesting story about McDonald's that I want to cover, and also Raising Cane's. We're going to cover a couple of fast food giants, and I think you'll be interested in those stories. That's right before Sue's News. Senator Schmitt at 4:30.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, the good news is crews have cleared that accident. It was southbound 270 just before Olive. Well, now we've got a stall southbound 270 at Page, and it started in the center lane. They will, of course, try to work that off to the shoulder. But southbound 270, a little bit slow in that area still. In fact, it's jammed down toward Page, then moderate volume in pockets from Olive down through Gravois. Southbound 55, slowing on the approach to Bates. That, of course, in the construction zone. Westbound 6440, slow pockets Kings Highway, out through an accident reported with just moderate volume behind it at 270. Moderate volume at the Boone Bridge and at 70. 70 westbound, still looking good out of downtown. A little bit slow at Highway K. If you're headed into Illinois, we're quiet on the bridges. But eastbound 64 is jammed, headed for Greenmount Road due to road work. This report is brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to talk about Michael's Baths, and maybe you're someone looking to remodel your bathroom. You want to get rid of the dirty old shower. You want to replace the tub space with something more modern or with a walk-in shower. That seems to be the trend. That's what I'm told by Mike Gower, who owns Michael's Baths, and his daughter Melody will take your call when you make an appointment. Now, I want you to do something. This is a great company. It's local. They have a ton of experience, American-made products, and all they do is bathrooms. When you call, mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk, because they're offering you a free shower door or $500 off your project. So maybe it's a big project, maybe it's a smaller project. Doesn't matter, because the bids that they'll give you will come in very typically 30 to 50% less than the competition. You're still getting top quality work with folks that have been with Mike for a long time in the company. One other note here, it was just Veterans Day last week. Michael's works with customers who are approved by the VA for a grant that could pay most, if not all, the price for the bathroom project. Call Michael's Baths at Michael's Baths, 636-775-0800, michaelsbaths.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life. Your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Agree and disagree. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The House votes overwhelmingly to force the release of Justice Department files related to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Both sides of the aisle calling for transparency, but also accusing each other of trying to use the issue for political gain.
The Speaker is calling on Leader John Thune in the Senate to amend this bill because he says it does not protect the victims, the whistleblowers in this investigation. The authors of this bill deny that, but there are deeper divisions over why this happened today, why it happened in the first place, as Republicans are claiming that Democrats are politicizing this investigation, and they're asking, why is this happening now?
Fox's Aisha Hasni on Capitol Hill. The House Speaker says it wasn't an issue raised during the Biden administration. Democrats pointing out President Trump could also release files without Congress. Leader Thune says the Senate could vote soon by unanimous consent, which appears to suggest no plan for amendments. The House also voting on a censure motion to refer Democrat delegate Stacey Plaskett to the Ethics Committee over reports she was texting with Epstein, receiving guidance from him on questions during a 2019 congressional hearing. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince will soon head to a black-tie dinner at the White House after an earlier Oval Office meeting focusing on stronger defense and economic ties, with the prince increasing expected investment in the U.S.
Saying that his investment now in the U.S. is pledging to increase to $1 trillion
over the next several years. Now, the first part of that will invest in infrastructure projects like $14.2 billion the Saudis spent with GE Varnova. The project built heavy-duty gas turbines and will create 1,800 jobs in Greenville, South Carolina.
Fox Business's Edward Lawrence at the White House. The president will allow the Saudis to buy advanced fighter jets. America is listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Temperatures in the 60s for any evening plans. Lots of clouds around, partly to mostly cloudy, and we'll go down to 47. Now, there will be thunderstorms primarily south of a Farmington-Carbondale line this evening, southeast Missouri, southern Illinois. Some of those could be quite strong, but I don't think they reach up into St. Louis. Wednesday, partly to mostly cloudy, 60. Lots of clouds, Wednesday night showers really late at night, 50. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, the sheriff, the trial for Sheriff Alfred Montgomery, who I guess I was not clear that he was in jail in Illinois, Fred. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That was in the story today. So the trial was supposed to start today. And, you know, Alfred Montgomery comes into office after being elected last year, and then he handcuffs one of his deputies, and then he spends all kinds of money. And they try to kick him out of office, and obviously Catherine Hanaway is now involved. Andrew Bailey was at first, but Catherine as AG. But the trial was supposed to start today. But here, let me see if I can get to this, because this was confusing to me, and I guess I didn't know. You know, what's ironic is that his office, the sheriff's office, is responsible for transporting prisoners, right? That's like kind of the main role. So the local paper has a story that says Montgomery is currently sitting in an Illinois jail on 6 charges accusing him of handcuffing a city jail official, then tampering with witnesses to the investigation. So his lawyers asked federal authorities, I guess it would be U.S. Marshals, would have to be involved to transfer him to the city court, but a federal magistrate judge did not rule on the request. So they were supposed to start today, and then he didn't show up. So the judge, who he's a retired city circuit judge, but he's been ordered to oversee this case, said he was willing to wait. He goes, I don't see how a fair trial in this matter can occur without his presence. So I guess they're going to meet this afternoon to figure out if he can be in court. I know, what a mess, right?
Yeah, and Catherine Hanaway will be on with us tomorrow afternoon, like in the 5 o'clock hour.
And we should know more at that point, I think, in the afternoon, whether or not he's going to, be a part of the trial or not. So yesterday, President Trump was talking about McDonald's, and he was actually speaking to executives of McDonald's.
As you may have heard, I'm also one of your all-time most loyal customers. I really am. While other politicians fly around on campaign planes stocked with expensive catering, on Trump Force One, prior to ascending to Air Fund, which is quite a nice plane also, we served only McDonald's almost every time. You fed us very well, and I even got Bobby Kennedy to eat a Big Mac.
Oh!
And he told me he loved it.
I love that. So, I want to pair that with a story that I saw in the LA Times that says McDonald's is losing its low-income customers. Economists call it a symptom of the stark wealth divide. So I find this interesting because my daughter was not into, and this was a good thing, into McDonald's as much. Like my younger
you
kids,
are lucky.
or my older kids rather, in the 2000s. Fred, I don't know if you remember this, but they always knew the Happy Meals. They knew the toys that went with the Happy Meals. We had to go to McDonald's. We had to get the Happy Meals. It's bad parenting, I admit, right? But luckily with Alexa, she wasn't into McDonald's that much when she was little. Well, now she's 10, and she does like the chicken McNuggets. And then I told you that I developed a new love for the Quarter Pounder because it had been...
It's the best one there.
Right. It had been years, but about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, I told Becky, usually we kind of are partial to Culver's, and she was going to McDonald's. I said, you know what? I'm going to try a Quarter Pounder with cheese. Double Quarter Pounder with cheese.
Can I tell you why?
It was delicious.
They're fresh made now.
Yeah.
It used to be like a frozen thing, and now they're fresh. The Quarter Pounder is fresh. That's why it's so good.
Okay, so I'm back in a little bit to McDonald's. Don't go there very often. But I do remember one time in June, I got off the air. This is before I was, taking a bunch of time off. I went to McDonald's. I called Becky. I'm like, hey, let's just get McDonald's. And I go and I do the order for all three of us. And now we're getting shakes and stuff like that. But it's like $60 or something like that. I'm like, maybe it wasn't that much, but it was more than like I anticipated for an order from McDonald's. I may be inflating it a little bit too much. But back to the story in the LA Times, because they frame it this way. They say in the early 2000s, after a severe slump, McDonald's orchestrated a major turnaround with the introduction of the dollar menu. Remember, the menu, the items all cost $1, illustrated just how important it was to market to low-income consumers who value getting the most bang for their buck. So then the story says, coming at a time of flagging growth, tumbling stock, and the company's first report of a quarterly loss, the dollar menu reversed the fast food giant's bad fortune. It paved the way for 3 years of sales growth at stores open at least a year and ballooned revenue by 33%. That was back at the time. So one of the things that they say now is, and this is not just McDonald's, it's industry-wide, that fast food restaurants have seen traffic from low-income households drop by double digits. Traffic from higher earners increased by nearly as much. So how does that make sense, right? Long synonymous with cheap food for the masses, the struggle reflects a larger trend upending the consumer economy and makes, quote, affordability a hot topic. McDonald's executives say higher costs of restaurant essentials, such as beef and salaries, have pushed food prices up and driven away lower-income customers who already are being squeezed by the rising cost of groceries, clothes, rent, and childcare. And I believe that. That's true.
Well, plus the whole minimum wage has been pushed up in California. What is it now?
Right. Well, then you wonder what the items that you pay for here on the menu at McDonald's would cost compared to Los Angeles, right? And, somebody's quoted in here, an analyst that says Happy Meals at McDonald's are prohibitively expensive for some people because there's been so much inflation. And, I don't know what gets you out of this, right? Because there's challenges, and then you wonder, are the higher income people struggling so much where they're like, yeah, we're not going to that restaurant, we're going to McDonald's.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the issue is, but they point out, and look, I look at some of these economic indicators and I try to study some of this stuff, because you look at what happened during the pandemic where we had a lot of people had cleared debt. We had an all-time low when it came to debt, and then everyone started cranking things on the credit cards in the last 3 years with inflation. And they say that the credit card delinquency rates with households that have less than $45,000 annually have huge, huge increases. Oh. And it says that delinquency rates for high and middle income households have flattened and stabilized. So everyone's getting hit, but the low income people obviously get hit a lot harder. One other fast food related story that I wanted to do here this afternoon, just because this is another thing that kind of caught me off guard, because I'm not, and I don't really do, fast food that much. I've done more maybe in the last few years. Culver's I like. I mean, that's still fast food, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I do like, and you guys always make fun of me, I've never really, I think I've had a Chick-fil-A sandwich, but it was at one of the swim meets. I've never actually been to Chick-fil-A myself. That's weird, right?
It is weird.
I do love Raising Cane's. And you guys like Raising Cane's?
Never been.
I do.
Okay.
I do like it. It's
all
expensive.
right, well, so you've never been to Raising Cane's. One of the things about Cane's that I love and my daughter loves, so I mentioned she's going to get some dinner before Wicked tonight with Hannah. They may go to Cane's because she loves it so much. But the Cane's sauce, Fred, is really good.
What is it, people?
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. This is in the Wall Street Journal this morning. Locked in a safe at an undisclosed location sits the key to the success of America's hottest chicken chain. a list handwritten some 30 years ago by the co-founder of Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. It is the only physical copy of the recipe for the chain's famous sauce.
Wow.
Few people, Sue, have ever seen it. And while copycat recipes and alleged leaks from disgruntled employees abound, the company says only those who have seen the list really know how to make cane sauce. And they say it's just one of the several security protocols that they have. You know, you got NDAs, there's unmarked ingredient packages, and all this stuff that they have to do to protect the sauce. So this was founded in 1996 by Todd Graves and Craig Silvey. They pitched an idea in a business class in college. And they have grown to almost 1,000 locations. And look, it's got 5 items on the menu. That's the brilliance of raising. Yeah, that's it. You can get chicken tenders, and then you get more chicken tenders, and then you can get chicken tenders, and then you get fries and coleslaw. That's the 5 items. I may be skipping a couple there. But no, it's simple. It's simplistic. And then what I'm told all the time is, and I love the sauce. My daughter always says, get the cane sauce. So they say they describe it in the Wall Street Journal as a salmon-colored mix that allegedly uses ketchup, mayonnaise, Worcestershire as a base, which makes sense, right? Has probably played the biggest role in driving business and whipping caniacs into a frenzy. So it's not just my daughter. It's not just me. The cane sauce is amazing. They go through 800 million 4-ounce sauces a year, and it's top secret. But they're making a lot of money at Cane. So I thought that was kind of a cool story that was in the Wall Street Journal. People can't afford McDonald's, but they can afford Cane's, I guess, is what the moral to that story is. We have Senator Schmitt coming up at the bottom of the hour. We have Sue's News just around the corner.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are looking better on southbound 270, but we are
This is the Mark Reardon Show. Talk lines are open now.
I don't even know what happened there. I hit the mouse. I'm so sorry, Sue.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to say something. I didn't realize there was more with the phone number.
Wow.
Southbound 270, moderate volume from Page, and this goes all the way down through Gravois. Southbound 55, slowing south of Arsenal down through Bates. Accident reported eastbound 6440 at Big Bend. Westbound is lined up, and that looks like it's more like Kings Highway on out through McCausland, a little slow at 270. And then some moderate volume approaching Lake St. Louis Boulevard on out. 70 isn't as bad. The slow pocket there is 79 through K. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the bridges downtown. But 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
My best friend Jenny came over for coffee, said it's cold enough in here to play hockey. Well, my furnace broken, it's already late. Call Jerry Kelly because they're open till 8, jerrykelly.com. They're fast and they're good and they got it going on, Jerry Kelly.
Well, I love being a member of the Missouri Athletic Club. They have so much to offer year-round, but the holidays are a real special time at the MAC, whether it's the downtown clubhouse or out west. There's a bunch of events coming up, even a couple tomorrow downtown. There is a sip and shop event at the downtown clubhouse. You can spend an evening shopping at the MAC. They have vendors booths with a lot of holiday gift items, jewelry, spa gifts, etc., so you can knock down a lot of your holiday shopping. And by the way, the MAC shuttle will be available to transport members from west at 4:45 and depart downtown at 7:45. So you do have to have reservations for the shuttles. They have a ladies' coffee at the West Clubhouse tomorrow, and then get your orders in for Thanksgiving. I love ordering some sides from the MAC. They make it super easy, but you got to get the orders in because Thanksgiving is just a week away. The orders are accepted until November 21st. So tomorrow is the 19th. I think it's Friday is your deadline. Check out everything, if you're a member in particular, at mac-stl.org.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
With this season's drought and high temperatures, demand for new sprinkler system installs is at its peak. Even with a little rain in the forecast, now is the absolute best time to put a new system in place, setting you up for a healthier, greener lawn next year. Don't let your lawn go through another season looking the way it does today. Take control now, and you'll never have to worry about the damage heat and dry weather can cause again. Call 636-695-7800 or visit ProOutdoor.com to schedule your new system installation today.
Surprise! Surprise! You know, surprise parties, they can be fun, right? Well, financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you think you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions and schedule a retirement double check. Marvin and his team have been helping families plan for retirement for more than 15 years. Call 314-373-1598 to schedule your retirement double check with Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions. That's 314-373-1598. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Give Marvin and the team a call, 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and in Illinois.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
Fast-paced, fact-based, and never boring. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
We got tickets to give away to, they're calling this the Double Trouble Double Vision Tour. Leonard Skinner and
I see what they did there.
Yeah, see how I might have reversed the doubles and the troubles there. But if you're call number 3 right now, you get a pair of tickets to see Foreigner and Leonard Skinner at the Amphitheater August 6th of next summer. It'll be guaranteed 65, 68 degrees on that night. There's no doubt about it. Early August, St. Louis, one of the most comfortable times to be here in St. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, call number 3 on the contest line, 241-9797. You are a winner from 97.1 FM Talk. I also have some Guns and I was combining Sue's News because I was looking at this Guns and Sue's News. Guns and Hoses tickets to give away. Good Lord, feels like a Monday, but it's a Tuesday.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News, presented by U.S. Men's Medical Center.
Whenever we play the Foreigner Jukebox Hero, I am taken back to the Checker Dome. Was it the Arena at the time when they were in town with that album and blew up that giant
yes, it was.
jukebox?
And I was
were you there, Fred?
Yeah, I was.
We were all three there.
I forgot all about that.
I love that.
Do you remember who opened up for them that night?
Was it Joan Jett or was that someone
it
else?
could have been Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Could it potentially have been Blue Oyster Cult?
No.
Okay.
No.
Joan Jett, I know I saw back then, so it could have been her.
It might have been her. But we were also at 2 other concerts all together and didn't know it, so it could have been. It's National Princess Day. It's the birthday of Mickey Mouse. But most importantly, it's National Vichy Soir Day. Fred?
No, I don't know. No. What exactly is Vichy
It's that
Soir?
cold potato soup.
Yeah, no.
What about you?
I might do that. I don't know. I think I've had it before, and it's okay.
I'd rather have it warm. It just is. It's not necessary, Fred.
Right.
It's unnecessary. And 8 years ago today, now this will take music, and I'm trying to tell you now, Mark Reardon.
I know, but I'm looking at who toured with Foreigner. I'm sorry, I'm very distracted.
I know that.
Well, I have an interesting answer to that, too.
Okay.
But go ahead. You tell me what I'm supposed to play right now.
8 years ago, in 2017, AC/DC founder, so that should tell you, Malcolm Young passed away 8 years ago. He was only 64. And his nephew, Stevie, has replaced him on rhythm guitar in the band. And here he is, though. This is Malcolm at Thunderstruck. It goes on for a while.
Yeah, great song, though.
Stevie is the son of Malcolm and Angus's older brother, Stephen. So it's kind of still a family affair. But yeah, and then I went down a rabbit hole and looked at pictures from the funeral and saw his son and all the rest of it. But yeah, and AC/DC, as we know, still on tour because they just did that bagpipe concert with the most bagpipes in Australia.
Well, they're coming here to the gross, disgusting dome next year.
Oh, yeah. Did you find the answers at
No,
Joan
I
Jett?
didn't because it says Foreigner was here in 1991 with the Michael Stanley Band,
That's
but
not when
that's
we
not
saw
the
him.
one that I
No.
saw.
No.
And I have seen the Michael Stanley Band many times, but I just looked for Foreigner 4 tour, and it doesn't say, anything about that. I'll figure it out, though.
Was that on the album 4, Jukebox Hero? Or was it a Jukebox Hero, the album? I don't remember.
Maybe that's what I'm doing.
Try
I'm doing
that.
something
Try
wrong.
that.
I'll figure it
That way
out.
you'll be distracted
Okay.
for the next 2 minutes.
Right.
Fred.
If you need my attention, just tell me.
Okay, all right. KFC wants us to eat fried chicken on Thanksgiving instead of turkey. I guess that's not a surprise. They added a new festive feast meal that comes with a bucket of chicken, mashed potatoes, biscuits, and listen to this, a flight of 3 different gravies. You can have brown, white peppercorn, and a new one called Southern Cheddar.
I like the idea of a flight of gravies.
I thought that was a kind of a genius idea. And this is all just $25. You get 8 pieces of chicken, 2 sides of mashed potatoes, 4 biscuits, and 3 types of gravy.
I tell you, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken right beneath us here in this building.
Yeah, there is.
And sometimes
smells
the odor
pretty good.
comes
Smells
up here.
good.
It's
Yeah.
great.
You get when my mom didn't feel well, and she'd say, "I don't really want anything to eat." I would get her KFC, and she would eat it, because
no joke. Same thing with my mom.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not
Fred.
kidding about that.
Wow.
She loved Kentucky Fried Chicken. And when
Yes.
she was not feeling well, we go get some.
Yep. Oh, wow, Fred, that's
Yeah, it's
interesting.
weird. Yeah.
Because they'll eat it regardless. It's just so good. Anyway, the press release cited some poll that found that 35% of Americans don't like turkey, so that's their target market. And I bet they do well with it. It's not that expensive, and it's fried chicken, and you get a flight of gravy. What's not to love? Did you
Delicious.
find the answer yet,
No,
by the way?
damn it. I'm legitimately pissed off because look, the Jukebox Hero was definitely on Foreigner 4.
Okay.
But that was in 19. So Foreigner
It
4
would have
comes
been the
out in
80s when we
1981.
saw it,
Foreigner
yeah.
4 is 1981. But Agent Provocateur is from 1983. And that has I Want to Know What Love Is. But I'm still thinking it had to have been the Foreigner 4 tour. So maybe they came
somebody
through
tell
twice.
us. Somebody, you were not the only ones there. Okay,
Damn
you
it.
got to play
But see, now I'm going to be
something for me.
frustrated because
know.
I know that I actually have, and this is another thing that's frustrating. I have an entire photo album with all my backstage passes and my concert tickets, and I remember having a ticket for this, and it would show who the warm-up was on the ticket. The problem is I had these 2 photo albums. I have no idea where they are.
Oh,
At one point, I took them out when Cheap Trick was here years ago because I had pictures of Cheap Trick and I wanted to get the same versions of the pictures taken, which I did actually when I was backstage. But now I have no idea what I did with all those.
Okay,
It's quite troubling.
That's a sad
It is a sad
tale.
story because I had a lot of really cool pictures. I had pictures with the Michael Stanley Band. I had pictures with Cheap Trick. I had pictures with all these people, and now I can't find them, Sue.
Here's comedian James Gregory on what happens for some families after Thanksgiving dinner. I just found this kind of amusing.
I almost played Thunderstruck.
Yeah, I noticed.
This is going to remind you of somebody you know. Maybe your favorite aunt, your grandmother. You see those special occasions, Thanksgiving. Get up from the supper table. Everybody else is already up from the table. And she would just yell to the next room. I'll be there in a minute. I'm just going to get a biscuit and sop this up. That could be what's wrong with the country. A whole generation of Americans who've never heard the expression, sop it up. And then she come into the living room and flop down in the nearest chair, the first chair she came to. Quote, oh, Lord. I ate more than I planned to. I think starting tomorrow, I'm gonna go on some kind of a diet. Well, no, I can't tomorrow. Hell, we're going to Cracker Barrel tomorrow. If y'all would wait a few minutes, I'd help with those dishes.
Oh, that just
Who's
amuses
that guy?
me.
James
That is
Gregory.
James Gregory. He's the Southern guy. You look at him, look him up, and you'll go, "Oh yeah, that guy." All right, a survey by American Christmas Tree Association. Some would call it the American Christmas Tree Association if they could read. Found fake trees are now the norm, and it's not even close. Mark Reardon, you have some
both.
fake,
Yeah.
some real.
2 fake, 1. We're going to get 1 real. We always do 1 real.
I
Fraser
respect
Fur.
that. Fred, are you fake?
We are 2 fake.
Well, you are the norm. I am only 1, and it's real. But 83% of people planning to put up a tree this year will use a fake one. Dang, that is just so much.
One of the problems is, whether it's a problem or not, is let's just admit these fake trees have gotten very, very beautiful.
You know what?
There's
You're
some
right.
really, and that's why they're not cheap. A lot of them aren't cheap, but they look so real and it's so simple to do. And, sometimes getting the good quality fresh tree is not easy either.
Well, that's true.
I might be slow on this, but, we always have 2 trees in our house. But, like this year, Marie says, let's do one on the front porch, too.
Oh, that's nice. I
Yeah,
mean,
is that a
why
trend?
not?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think some people do that.
Some people do it.
It looks nice. You know what I'm seeing now is, it's pretty much Mark's neighborhood, except they have built-in lights, so you could just program them. Here we're doing orange for Thanksgiving or for Halloween. Here we'll do, because we have one in the neighborhood that's really nice. They have like mildly kind of twinkle lights, but not twinkly on off, just kind of a little bit here.
Subtle.
And I really like those. But then they hit a button and changed it to something that looks like Light Bright, and I hate it.
I've got a guy in our neighborhood that has the same thing. And whenever I'm walking past his house, walking the dog, I can tell when he's on his phone changing the settings.
Oh,
because it goes from color to color to color in different arrangements real quickly.
Oh, gosh, that is funny. But that's what they're saying. Only 17% of people, or 1 in 6, will buy a real one. I just like the smell. It just smells so good.
This will be, it's always interesting. Like, we didn't know exactly how the bunny would handle the Christmas tree. He didn't really care that much, honestly. But now we got the puppy, so I don't know how Max will deal with it. Well, it's always a challenge, right?
You know what? This is the first time I'm going to get a full size with Oscar the Bulldog, who still has energy at age 5. I always have gotten a smaller one up on a table. I mean, 2 or 3 feet.
Right.
But still up. This year, I'm going to put it on the ground. Let's all say a prayer for that.
Yes, Godspeed.
And thank you. Appreciate it. And according to Google Keyword Planner data, which we all go by, the Philadelphia Eagles are hated. They are the most hated football team instead of the Chiefs, which is more than any other team. They are hated in 13 states, followed by the Raiders in 8 states, including Missouri. Why do we hate the Raiders?
Well, I don't know. Because of the Chiefs rivalry. I mean, the Raiders were always the Chiefs rival.
Jets and Packers in 6 states. They are the most hated, including Illinois. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. More football. There have been 1,094 different final score combos in NFL history. The most recent addition was the Texans and Jacksonville, 36-29. There'd never been a 36-29 final score before.
I love it when that happens.
Nuts.
That is nuts. Thank you, Sue. Wrapping up a Tuesday edition. Senator Schmitt's coming up.
Waymo robo-taxi services in the year ahead. The Alphabet-owned company said today it plans to start operating its vehicles with no human driver assistance in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Miami, and Orlando on a test basis in the coming weeks before opening service in those markets to the public in 2026. Wonder if its bunny might need a recharge. Energizer this morning reported quarterly per-share earnings that missed expectations, and it issued an outlook for the current quarter that's less than half what Wall Street was projecting. The battery maker, known for its namesake brand, as well as brands including Rayovac, Eveready, Armor All, and STP, blamed tariffs and softening consumer demand. Energizer shares today cratered 18%. It's been a rough couple of days on Wall Street overall, leading a second straight sell-off. The Dow Industrial skidded nearly 500 points today, and the NASDAQ Composite dropped another 275. The S&P 500 fell 55. That's your money now.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
At Bank of America, we asked our people, how do you take ownership of your career?
I'm able to grow my way by putting the priorities that I have for my career first.
I thrive on being a leader who's behind the team, not in front of the team.
Every few years, I'm being re-energized because I get to do something different and learn something new.
See how our teammates are growing in their careers at bankofamerica.com/great place to work. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Hi, it's Mark Cox. When I endorse a product or service on the radio, I take it seriously. I do my research. I did the same when I first met Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty over 5 years ago. Gloria is here in studio today, and I'll ask the same question I asked you when we first met and before you helped me sell my home. Gloria, tell us, what sets you apart from other agents?
Well, number one is my guaranteed offers. I'm so confident that I'll sell your home at 100% of market value, or I'll pay the difference. Number two is I already have the buyers, so your home may already be sold. I literally have thousands of buyers in my Buyers in Waiting program. This is how I'm able to create higher demand, more offers, and that means more money in your pocket.
Friends, get to know Gloria Lou like I have. Upfront written guarantees with the least hassle. Call Gloria Lou right now at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
So we have these seminars that we do with Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group, and I was just notified this week that we have some of the dates set for next year, and we're changing the location. It's going to be out at the Doubletree in Chesterfield, very convenient for folks, so just keep that in mind. But right now, what I'd like to encourage you to do is don't wait for a seminar, because if you're someone who is worried about retirement, maybe you think that you got a handle on it and you want a different opinion, or you want a different school of thought and different philosophy, that's what Thomas and the team can do for you. Now, their key is safely linking to the market. How do you keep your gains without having losses moving forward? Well, they're going to teach you their strategies that have been successful for decades here in St. Louis. 314-993-9494. They're the official financial planners of this show, and Mark's and Annie's as well. Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisor Group. The website has everything you'll need, retirementkey.com. You can even schedule that one-on-one office visit yourself. If you just press the register button, you'll get a free copy of their latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Get your appointment set today, retirementkey.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Consistently right.
It's a ritual.
97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we continue to be frustrated that we can't find out who opened up for Foreigner here in St. Louis.
I found more.
Oh, you did? But you did say that Joan Jett was the one.
For police.
She opened up for the police on the Synchronicity Tour, right?
Correct.
Yes, and we were all at that.
Yeah, and then it turned into, it was 1984 we saw Foreigner. And
that's what we're convinced of that at this point? Okay.
It's either, Loverboy was on part of the tour with them, and I did see Loverboy, but I thought that was a separate concert, wasn't it? This says Giuffria, Giuffria was the opening band.
No idea what that is.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is at all.
Okay, I'm looking it up.
But, you know, the internet is full of so many different things, and usually you just have to kind of, and this is what I did. I just plugged in Foreigner 4 Tour Checkerdome or the Arena St. Louis, and they take me back to 1981. And
it's too far.
Yeah, right.
That's
so
Michael Stanley.
I'm confused. Yeah, and that was, I don't think I went to that one because I wasn't going to concerts regularly in 1981, but by 1982 and 83, I certainly was. We have Senator Schmitt, who is on the floor of the United States Senate right now, so he's going to jump on here with us in just a couple of minutes. This is really stunning when you think about it. This is an ad that's been put out, and it's really, really slick. I don't know who produced it, by Democrat lawmakers, essentially telling people to, if you're in the military or ICE or the CIA, and if you get orders from your superior, just ignore them.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you. We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
You can recognize some of the typical voices in there, like Chris Murphy and AOC, and they're basically advocating for people in the military, the CIA, just to do un-American things, I guess, right? It's unbelievable.
Like there's no law.
Senator Eric Schmitt is with us this afternoon. Had you heard that slickly produced little spot there from your friends on the other side of the aisle?
I saw it on the plane ride from St. Louis to Washington a couple hours ago, and I posted about it, that it sounded a little bit insurrection-y.
Yeah.
It sounded a little bit I surprised anymore. It's just, at the end of the day, Mark, what this is about is they still are so upset that Trump won, and they're actually asking now for the military and the intelligence community to intervene. And we saw over the last almost 10 years was the intelligence community did intervene. They created this fake
there you go.
Russia hoax. The FBI suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. I mean, this story goes on and on and on. And here you go. You've got elected leaders now calling on these folks, the deep state, as it were, I guess, to get more involved. It's really shameful.
Yeah, but it's not like anyone in the government tracked the phones of United States senators or anything like that, right? I mean, that didn't happen. Oh, my gosh. So give us the latest here on Arctic frost. And I know that you're calling in particular for one judge to step down.
So I know that the listeners can. It's a very educated audience you have, but sometimes this stuff can get a little bit confusing. What Arctic frost is, it was the investigation that Jack Smith opened up 3 days after President Trump announced he was running for president in 2022. He went back and subpoenaed phone records, any communications of senators, organizations, hundreds of people in this dragnet, this Soviet-style dragnet, I guess, to criminally prosecute anybody who had an adverse opinion to Joe Biden under the auspices of January 6th. And it was widespread. We've never seen anything like this before. What Judge Boasberg's role, which he's kind of famous from the FISA court, he's famous from some of his ridiculous cases he got and ruled on early on illegal immigration cases. His role was he was a judge that Jack Smith went to when he got these subpoenas. And Boasberg has attached to the subpoenas to the phone companies saying, you can't tell senators that they're being subpoenaed, even though a federal law requires that. You can't tell them because I am finding that they will destroy evidence, right? No hearing on it, that he just decided that these senators, and I wasn't one of them, I was chairman of Republican AG Association at the time, which also was subpoenaed, by the way. But that is just outrageous. So Boasberg, not only did he get these cases when he wasn't, we need to find out how he got some of these cases early on. Not only did, before President Trump was sworn in, say that, essentially alluding to the fact he was going to thwart the president's agenda, which violates a number of, provisions of the Judicial Code of Conduct. But now here you go with a totally unsubstantiated finding that senators would destroy evidence if the phone companies told them that their phones were being surveilled. So this guy is the definition of a rogue judge. And so what I led a letter on just the other day was to go to the D.C. Circuit and say this guy needs to be suspended. He shouldn't be hearing any cases while the impeachment, which is hopefully going to start in the House, of Judge Boasberg begins.
Yeah, because the articles of impeachment have already been filed, right? So what you're saying is during this process, he should not be able to be on the bench.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I think taking this stuff on, I think people are ready for some action here. And I don't throw that out lightly. I've never called for the impeachment of a judge before. But I think that when you have someone that's gone this rogue, who really isn't interested in being a judge, but more of a political player wearing a blue jersey, he's sort of thrown off the black robe a long time ago.
Absolutely. Senator Eric Schmitt with us this afternoon. Let's talk about the shutdown and the waste of time that was, because it really is unbelievable. And, with the help of the legacy media, I guess some of the polling was showing that you guys were getting blamed for this, but it was clearly the fault of one side. And in the end, they don't get anything in return whatsoever.
Yeah, they got nothing out of it. They tried to get some, first their formal offer was to undo all the tax cuts for the American people, all the reforms where able-bodied adults actually had to work or volunteer 80 hours a month, all that stuff that we did that was good for the American people. They wanted that unwound. And then they kind of settled on this healthcare issue, which was a permanent inclusion of the subsidy for people making over 400% of the federal poverty level that didn't even go to individuals. It made insurance companies super rich. If anything, Mark, though, it has exposed that even Democrats are admitting now that Obamacare has been a failure for working families. Costs have gone up astronomically. Premiums are up 80, 90%. and the profits of insurance companies and their stock prices are up over 1,000% in that same period of time. So it's been a disaster for people, but they didn't get anything out of it. And I was on your show. We talked about this. You can't hold government funding hostage for other policy objectives. That kind of has to remain in its own lane. And you can argue about priorities in a budget process, but not when you have this kind of shutdown politics. So what we're doing is we're moving on to appropriations bills, which is what John Thune said we were going to do all along. Chuck Schumer never did it. So instead of getting to these end of the fiscal year with no appropriations bills, we're actually doing that. In fact, we're going to be doing that again this week now that we're back. So that's the way this thing should run, as opposed to these omnibus bills in the middle of the night. The Democrats, played this game and they blinked and they got nothing, and the American people suffered. Flights were delayed. People didn't get paid for 3 paychecks. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. Now, how do you think that the Obamacare subsidies in particular will be handled moving forward through the end of the year? Where are you on that?
Well, I can't. You have to have reform. I mean, you can't have tens of billions of dollars essentially being pocketed by the insurance companies, because up to 40% of these, Mark, they were never utilized, meaning the brokers were making commissions on it. The insurance companies got the tens of billions of subsidies, and people weren't using it, whether or not they even knew they were signed up or not. So there has to be real reform here. And again, this was a subsidy, a COVID-era temporary subsidy that the Democrats set to expire at the end of this year. So when they enacted Obamacare, Mark, they didn't want any Republican input. If you remember, they did it by reconciliation, right? Because Massachusetts sent Scott Brown to not have 60 votes in the Senate. Remember that?
Yeah.
So they did it with 51 votes. So then they do this temporary subsidy in one of the Biden Inflation Reduction Act legislation without any Republican votes. So they never consulted Republicans on any kind of reform. And so I think if we're going to move forward on anything, there has to be a lot of reform infused here. So it's not going to look like what it looked like before. If we can come to any resolution on it at all, I don't know. But I'm more than willing to have the debate on health care because Obamacare has been a disaster for people.
I want you to talk about Antifa and what happened with that being, designated a terror organization, because you played a role in that, didn't you?
Yeah, so, I had a hearing. I think it came on your show, talked about we had a hearing on political violence in this country. I said, don't give me this both sides BS. You've seen a rise on the left with political violence. 25% of people who describe themselves as very liberal believe that political violence is justified, compared to 3% on the very conservative side. 3% too many, but it's not the same thing. So there's something happening on the left, and Antifa is the tip of the spear. And it's just an anarchist movement. It's not a thing. It's not an organization. That's nonsense. And so when we wrote our letter to the State Department, we said, this is an international terrorist organization. They should be designated as a foreign terrorist organization, because look at all this stuff. Look at the international web of safe houses. Look at how they coordinate funding. And so we made the case to the State Department. Our team worked with them. Secretary of State Rubio and his team were very open to this concept. And so last week, they designated 4 European Antifa organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. It can freeze bank accounts, but those investigations can go from there, and that'll have an impact in the United States, because there's United States Antifa organizations that work with them as well. So if we're serious about left-wing political violence, if we're serious about political violence at all, you actually have to get to the people who are doing it, the organizations that are dropping off bricks at night, that have the safe houses, that are funding the attacks on our law enforcement officers and our ICE agents. So this is a very, very important step.
Was Election Day a couple of weeks ago on Tuesday that went, for these Democrats in deep blue states, a message sent to Republicans and President Trump, or not?
I just don't think and I've said it before, so I'm trying to be consistent. I just don't think you take much from it's not even a midterm. It's a 1 year out in a couple of states that are blue states. I think the one thing you could take from it was just how radical the candidates the Democrats elected were. I mean, on one hand, you have the communist in New York, Mandami,
yeah,
right, who's the commie Mandami, and then you had the guy, the AG in Virginia, who fantasized about murdering his political opponents and murdering kids. Like, that's who they elected. So I think what it tells you is that the Democrat Party has been captured by the left here. The Democrats that, the Truman Democrats that existed, and maybe even some that I served with in the Missouri Senate 10, 15 years ago, they're not in elected office anymore. They've been pushed out. And so now you're left with these really radical individuals that are going to be the standard bearers for the party. So it probably is good politics for Republicans, to be able to point to a guy like Mandami, but it's terrible for New York. I mean, I do feel bad for, one of the great American cities is now going to see what it's like to have a heavy dose of communism shoved down their throat.
Well, I know it's been a very stressful period. You've been in D.C. quite a bit, and you came back home a little bit last week, but I hope you get some time to detox with the family during Thanksgiving and have a little fun before going back to work before Christmas, because the House members got to be back in the district. Not that they weren't working. Of course they were, right? But you guys were stuck in Washington a little bit more, weren't you?
Yes, we were. We were there weekends and yeah. So, but look, you sign up to do this job, but yeah. So I'll be, hoping Mizzou can pull off the upset against Oklahoma this weekend, and seeing what the Cardinals have brewing up for revitalizing this organization.
Yeah, good luck with the latter part of that. We'll see what happens. I'm on the Mizzou train. Thank you, Senator. We'll talk soon. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, Mark.
All right, we'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I'm looking at the cameras here, southbound 55, south of Gasconade, a lot of brake lights. So it's a slow go on southbound 55 from Broadway down through almost Bates. And we had a report of an accident in there. I'm wondering if it's gone. I saw somebody on the right shoulder and they got going again. Now, westbound 44 is slower than usual out of downtown on either side of Kings Highway. Westbound 64 is lined up Kings Highway out through McCausland. It's eastbound that has volume east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. Westbound slowing again in pockets west of 141 out through the 70 split. 70 has some moderate volume out of downtown and also past the airport and headed for K and also Highway A. Southbound 270 slow pockets Olive down through 21. Boy, we have a jam on westbound Highway 30 west of 141 tonight. There's an accident before you get to New Sugar Creek Road. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
You want experience when you hire a lawyer like Susan L. Warden. That's exactly what you're going to get. She has a family law practice with a brand new building. They're very proud of the new office they moved into in May in De Pere, right there at 270 in Manchester. And Susan, for multiple decades, and her team have been practicing in the area of family law. It's a tough area, not going to lie. I've been there myself. You want experience, though, because, and I've mentioned this before, sometimes people don't even realize how a lawyer's knowledge and the way that they may work with particular judges play a role in the resolution of your case. And, of course, this is a area of the law where it's maybe not just the end of a marriage where you need Susan's help. It could be anything that happens in the aftermath with modifications and orders and things along those lines. I mean, I've admitted this. I was naive. I didn't even know that I had to have a modification order when child support stopped for my kids. I thought just magically that would stop. It did not happen that way, and I was educated. And Susan can educate you. Get a hold of them today, 314, wait, I want to make sure I get the number right because that could be bad, 783-9400, stlfamilylaw.com. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Join us on Monday, November 24th at Helen Fitzgerald starting at 3 for the official Guns N' Hoses weigh-in. You could win tickets, meet the fighters, and hang out with us. Details at 971talk.com/events. Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Windows specialist. With winter just around the corner, now is the time to think about Pella Windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction, 314-569-1050 to schedule your free in-home consultation, or the website bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
For 100 years, KMOX has been part of St. Louis. Now, Together Credit Union is helping celebrate that legacy. Starting in November, visit any Together Credit Union branch to pick up a KMOX 100th anniversary commemorative ornament for just $5 while supplies last. Each ornament supports Children's Miracle Network of Greater St. Louis. Together Credit Union, honoring 100 years of KMOX, the voice of St. Louis, and Children's Miracle Network of Greater St. Louis, improving the health of all children.
Welcome to Coffee House. How are you today?
Hi, great, thanks. May I get a sea salt caramel latte with almond milk, extra caramel, extra shot, iced,
Gross.
and to go, please. Did you get all that?
No, I was just ringing you up for all the extras. Can you repeat your order, please?
Oh, never mind. I'm just gonna go.
Stop paying extra for extras. Get fancy coffee without the fancy coffee price at Quick Trip. Raise your coffee bar.
Setting goals for your retirement is one thing, but knowing how to achieve those goals is another.
What are your wishes, hopes, and dreams? What's retirement look like for you? Because everybody, that picture is different.
For tips on building a better nest egg, listen to the All Financial Hour with Steve All, Saturday mornings at 6, here on 97.1 FM Talk.
You can also visit yourmoneymattersstl.com for more details.
Swapping out your tires? There's nothing like it. With eBay, you can find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I'm not the biggest soccer football guy on the planet, but I certainly know who Ronaldo is. And he was actually at the White House today, and I'm not sure if he met Trump, but Trump, the president, was hosting, and this was a little controversial earlier, and I can get into that as well, Mohammed bin Salman, who's the Saudi crown prince, at the White House. And Ronaldo is, beyond being one of the most famous soccer players on the planet, he is the face of the Saudi Pro League. But he said he wanted to meet the president. He hasn't met the president. He wants to meet him.
One of the guys that I want to meet. I wish one day, if you have an opportunity, I can make that happen. Make that happen, or tell him that one of the guys that I want to sit to have a nice talk. It was one of the guys. Donald Trump.
That's Piers Morgan there. I don't know if that got arranged. It would not surprise me, though, if they met sometime today. But so the Saudi prince was doing an event with the president this morning, and there's a reporter at ABC, Mary Bruce, who is probably one of the more anti-Trump so-called journalists out there. And she asked a question, and it didn't go. No, look, I don't think this is an inappropriate question, but it was the tone, I think, that the president took issue with, and he just hammers Mary Bruce.
It's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right...
Well, hang on a second. That's actually the crown prince answering that question. I want to see if I can get the one here where he's heaping praise, and the ABC question comes in. Here we go.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question. I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful.
So you might remember, I don't know if you do remember Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist that went into the Saudi embassy and never came out. So he was murdered. And that was what the question was about. Now, the Crown Prince denies any involvement in this. This is one of those very uncomfortable, subjects, because this guy worked for the Washington Post. He was clearly taken out. The circumstances are still mysterious.
We've worked with all presidents.
Does Trump blow him all away?
I played the wrong one again. Here's where, now this is where I don't agree with Trump, because he goes after Mary Bruce, which is fine, but he starts talking about the license.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
It's not the question that I mind. It's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. I think the license should be taken away from ABC, because your news is so fake and it's so wrong And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that.
Yeah, see, I don't think so. This is where he goes off the rails. I don't like that at all. Look, the bottom line is Mary Bruce's point was valid, that the CIA did determine that Khashoggi had been murdered and that the Crown Prince was involved in that. Now, whether or not he should have been in the Oval Office, at one point the president said things happen. Well, things do happen, and I know that these are very complicated geopolitical issues, but that was not an inappropriate question. And then, when he veers into the license thing because he doesn't like it, he wants to beat up on Mary Bruce or any of these reporters for their questions, that's fine. But let's not threaten Brendan Carr and do all that Jimmy Kimmel stuff again.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got some volume out there tonight. Southbound 55, and that's mainly Arsenal, down to almost Bates. 44 westbound, slowing in front of the Arch grounds. We've got westbound 6440 lined up near Van de Venner. Now, this is in pockets, but it goes all the way out through 70. Southbound 170, slow pockets south of Olive through 64. Southbound 270, it's south of Olive, in pockets down through 21. 141 is jammed, headed southbound, headed for 64. And 70, just the usual moderate volume in pockets, headed out west. Now, there was an accident reported on westbound Highway 30 near New Sugar Creek Road, and it looks to be causing a delay. Headed into Illinois, well, now's the time, and things look good on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Attention veterans and active military. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is giving veterans and active military 10% off all month. That's 10% off all doors, openers, and any service or repair. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Like a lot of us, you may be thinking, wow, retirement is not as far off as it used to be. And you may think, wait a minute, I'm not sure I have a handle on everything. How do taxes work in retirement? When should I take Social Security? Well, this is why Financial and Tax Architects was founded. FTA just helps hardworking families in St. Louis make sense of retirement. They put on a class, it's called Retirement Planning 101. And they walk you through some of this stuff. Here's how taxes work in retirement. Here's an idea on how to preserve the money you do have for your entire retirement. So you go to one of these classes. Now, it's free, but you have to register. So go to fta-ria.com. Register, go to a class, learn some things, and you're already going to feel better. Then you'll see how Financial and Tax Architects work, and you may decide to sit down with them and have them write up a plan with you. It will make you feel better. FTA-RIA.com.
Josh Hammer from Newsweek coming up after Fox News at the top of the hour.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
All right, you pick them. You don't have to take my word for it. Lots of 5-star reviews out there for my friends at Rhino Shield because, like me, there are a lot of satisfied Rhino Shield customers. And what does that mean? Well, maybe you're satisfied because it's exactly the color and beautiful, vivid color that you wanted, right, with the trim and all of that. They can do in different colors, just like you would with regular paint, but it lasts for so long. Maybe you're happy because you're not out there scraping or having to pay somebody to scrape and paint every 4 or 5 years. That's what happens with regular paint. Not Rhino Shield. Goes on thick, waterproofs your house completely, protects it from the rays of the sun, gives you an insulation factor. It's fantastic. They've used it on HGTV, on unpainted brick, block, aluminum, steel, hardy cement board. It's fantastic on all of it. Call them today for a free evaluation, 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The Fox News alert. It will head to the president's desk. I'm Lisa Lacera.
The Senate has now passed
the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, as the Senate agrees to approve a measure to fully release the Epstein files.
This isn't about Democrats versus Republicans or about Congress versus the president. This is about giving the American people the transparency they've been crying for.
It's coming after a near unanimous vote in the House.
The only no vote, the one no vote, was Republican Congressman from Louisiana, Clay Higgins, and he explained why he voted no on X here. He wrote, in part, if enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt, not by my vote.
Fox's Aisha Hasni at the Capitol. Earlier today, some of Epstein's accusers and members of Congress stood together on Capitol Hill. Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene saying these women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight. A White House sit-down between President Trump and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as the Saudis hope to secure the purchase of U.S. fighter planes. The Crown Prince was asked about U.S. intelligence findings that he knew about the killing of a Saudi-American journalist in 2018.
We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc., in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
President Trump dismissed the findings, claiming the Crown Prince knew nothing about it. On Wall Street, stocks fell again following a sell-off in Europe and Asia. The Dow lost 4 at 98, the Nasdaq off 275. America is listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Temperatures in the 60s for any evening plans. Lots of clouds around, partly to mostly cloudy, and we'll go down to 47. Now, there will be thunderstorms primarily south of the Farmington-Carbondale line this evening, southeast Missouri, southern Illinois. Some of those could be quite strong, but I don't think they reach up into St. Louis. Wednesday, partly to mostly cloudy, 60. Lots of clouds Wednesday night, showers really late at night, 50. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, on Monday, we're disappointed. Fred's not going to be there, but Sue and I and Ethan and who am I forgetting? Well, we have great members of the engineering team, Fred, who will be there. But we're doing a live broadcast at Helen Fitzgerald, which is an awesome sports bar located on Lindbergh, right near 44. It's known as the Steelers Bar. I don't know if you know that. A lot of Steelers fans go there on Sundays or whenever the Pittsburgh Steelers play.
I was there for the when the Blues won the Stanley Cup.
That's where
I
you
watched
were?
the game. Yeah.
And the place is huge,
Yeah,
right?
it's big.
So we're doing the
With the stage and
the
everything.
weigh-in for Guns N' Hoses will take place on Monday afternoon during this show. Guns N' Hoses, of course, the night before Thanksgiving at Enterprise Center. The firefighters and the police officers, both men and women, go at each other, and they take it very seriously in boxing matches. We're giving away some tickets to the event here in just a little bit. So before the end of the, I'll even say before the end of the half hour, I'll have a pair of tickets to give away for Guns N' Hoses. And then we hope to see you. Come on out on Monday. Of course, all this is to help Backstoppers, which is a great organization that helps our first responders. I also have some more tickets to give away for the rest of the week for Foreigner and Leonard Skinner, even though Sue and I still can't figure out, and Fred, who warmed up for Foreigner. Everyone keeps sending us messages
not Joan Jett?
Well, no, that was the Police. We figured that was the Police, the Synchronicity Tour. But we were all at that show too, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Fred, as you know, we're about to enter the era here in December of legalized sports wagering in Missouri. We voted on this a year ago. As a libertarian conservative and as someone who considers Las Vegas his second home, I'm a fan of sports wagering. I've done it for a long time.
Way back you are.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been going to Las Vegas since probably 1997. I actually went for the first time to do a radio station interview. I did a show for a couple of days, and I was working at the station that Jimmy J.J. Walker was at. I swear to God. But I knew I wasn't going to take the job. I just kind of took the trip, and I went out there. But, you know, I've responsibly gambled, and I send money to Las Vegas to my friend Rick for parlays on many NFL Sundays. I don't do a lot during baseball season. If I'm in Vegas, I will. Now, look, here's what I have to admit. I'm going to welcome Josh Hammer into the show because he wrote a column about this. As much as I am a fan of this and I'm a personal freedom guy and a libertarian, there are some pretty big warning signs out there, and we can't say that some of this didn't come up before we voted on this in Missouri or when this decision was made by the Supreme Court many years ago. And Josh, who is a Newsweek executive editor, also the host of the Josh Hammer Show, which you hear 1 p.m. on Saturdays on 97.1 FM Talk, is with us. We might not agree on all this, but, man, I have to admit that your points are very valid considering what's going on with this industry and some of the scandals right now, Josh. How are you? Are you there? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I didn't press you right correctly. That's my fault. How are you, first and foremost?
Mark, I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure to join you, and perhaps it's actually even more fun when we disagree a little bit. Let's see.
Yeah, so look, when I read this piece, I had to shake my head because a lot of the points that you were making here, and maybe let's focus on what's happening with young men, because I'm not a young man, right? And I feel like as an adult, I can do things responsibly. But, you know, if I was like my kids, 25 and 28, or certainly between the age of 20 and 25, when I was recklessly behaving in Columbia, Missouri, might not have been the best thing to have access to legalized gambling. And this is, as you point out, Josh, becoming a bit of a crisis, not only with the wagering, but legalized marijuana, and all these things kind of add up to a bit of a crisis with young men in this country.
So let me first stipulate that, look, I mean, let he without the first sin, you know, without the sin cast the first stone, or whatever the exact quote is. I'm going to butcher it. But look, Mark, I'm a big sports fan. I've been a big sports fan my whole life. And that's actually one of the reasons why I think that now is the time to curtail sports gambling. But let me just say that also when I was a little younger, I would casually partake in sports gambling too. I actually have very fond memories of being 21, 22 years old back in college, sitting on the couch with my college friends, you know, betting on the Super Bowl, March Madness, things like that. You know, I mean, this is not the kind of thing that I have never done before. I'm very familiar with it. And furthermore, I do think it is entirely possible to do a lot of these things personally with some degree of moderation. And that doesn't apply just to sports gambling, by the way. That also applies, well, to gambling more generally. It probably also applies to other things that I would generally seek to heavily curtail or outright ban as well. The problem is not necessarily with the micro. The problem is with the macro.
Yeah.
And the macro trends ever since 2018, when the U.S. Supreme Court effectively legalized sports gambling nationwide, you can access it just from your pocket, from your internet. It's been pretty catastrophic, frankly, for young men in this country. Just kind of rattle off some statistics from the column, just for the listeners who haven't had the chance.
Yeah, because you should rattle off, because they're kind of, some of this is what really caught my attention, Josh, because they're kind of staggering. So yeah, like the 25 to 30% increase in bankruptcy filings with younger people, and 8% rise in debt, things along those lines, right?
Yeah, exactly. A separate survey found that 30% of young sports bettors say that they have debts that they can directly attribute to sports wagering. We're talking here about just a dramatic increase in credit card debt carried over month to month, an increased lack of ability to pay for your mortgage payments, things like that. You're seeing a wealth transfer essentially from worthy investments, from paying for a down payment and mortgage payments on your home, to betting on sports events. And that's problematic because 2/3 of Americans are already living paycheck to paycheck. And based on every poll that we have, especially of millennials, younger millennials, and Zoomers and Gen Z, virtually every poll we have shows that those younger folks, and younger men in particular, are already struggling to meet the milestones at a reasonable age that we once defined as success in life. So the age milestone at which you get married, at which you buy a home, at which you have your first child there. Gen Z and millennials, in many ways, are already playing catch up. So you kind of throw a lot of these statistics in there as well. And then you kind of, I think, add to the mix the broader conversation that's been happening, especially since the elections a couple weeks ago in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York City, when it comes to affordability in America. And when you start adding into the mix then that it seems like a lot of young folks are redirecting a lot of their money to other pursuits there, that could also exacerbate the affordability and cost of living crisis that far too many Americans find themselves in. And the other thing that increasingly troubles me, and this is ultimately what really impelled me to write this column, is, as I said, I'm a huge sports fan. Mark, I'm a hardcore Duke basketball fan. We're tipping off against Kansas in 3 hours, and I'm stoked.
And that's the only time I would root for Duke is against KU. I want you to know that. Right. Yes.
No, totally makes sense. Fair enough. But I'm a big sports guy. I really am. And I've seen these recent scandals in the NBA, Major League Baseball, this Cleveland Guardians pitching scandal. I mean, we're talking here about nothing less than the threat of the corruption of the integrity of sport itself.
I agree.
That's a really, really, really big deal. I mean, once upon a time, the Pete Rose betting scandal, the 1919 Chicago White Sox, the shoeless Joe Jackson, the Black Sox scandal, throwing the World Series with the organized mob in New York City behind it. Now, this is the kind of stuff that was infamous, and now it's just increasingly out in the open, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Well, here's what I'll tell you, and I'll see if there's any relatability here. As much as I feel like I know, I'm no expert when it comes to sports wagering, but I enjoy it and I have enjoyed it. I didn't know that you could actually place a wager on the particular speed of a pitch in Major League Baseball. I did not know that was a prop bet. That seems a little extreme to me, so that kind of caught me off guard as well. So, some of this, I guess my position would be, and I said this earlier, Josh, is the genie's kind of out of the bottle here. But I do think, so in other words, I don't think we're going to reverse the trend and all of a sudden ban sports wagering. But I do think that there's enough evidence out there that there needs to be more regulation of the types of wagers that are allowed, in particular, I think, at the collegiate level. And there should be ample evidence at this point to inspire people to try to do something about it.
Right. So one idea that I had, and to be clear, this is a state issue. It's really not much of a federal issue. That's kind of the whole purpose of the 2018 Murphy opinion at the Supreme Court. But one thing that crossed my mind as to what states might be able to do when it comes to this, I mean, why don't you just limit it to in-person physical brick-and-mortar casinos, to brick-and-mortar sports books? When you deprive the ability to just take out your pocket, I mean, that's going to, I think, have the effect of logically speaking, it has the effect of severely raising the hurdle and hindering your ability to so easily place a bet where you really, 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 really have to be committed. A lot of folks will be less easily duped into placing a lot of these, patently silly prop bets and just lose a lot of money.
Well,
so just making it harder at a bare minimum.
So let me tell you, my gut check reaction to that is an awesome idea, Josh Hammer, and I really believe that. But again, what I feel is that had to happen before the genie got out of the bottle. You know what I mean? Because I think that would put people in a different position, which is why, for the most part, I would only wager when I went to Vegas, and I thought that was appropriate. But then when I was unable to do some of the sports wagering, and I don't do a lot, but we do put some parlays together and things like that. We won a little money here in the Reardon household on Albert Pujols and his home run chase a couple of years ago, and that was fun. But I understand your point about making a physical location. The problem is we all have our phones. We love to sit around. I mean, some of this is really staggering. People might not even know that you can do in-game betting, right? So if the Cardinals are behind in a game and you want to bet during the fifth inning that they'll make a comeback, you get pretty good odds on that. You can make a bet in game. On the integrity part, let me also admit this, and this is just a human nature reaction from the stories that we've learned in the past couple of months. As you are, I'm a huge sports fan, a lot of NFL. I'm watching some of these shanked kicks and missed extra points, which I believe, hopefully in my heart, are really just mistakes by the players. But you kind of look at them with a different lens after these stories that have come out, if you know what I mean.
For sure. Is there such thing as a sporting event right now that we are all fully confident that the entire game, every point or every pitch or whatever the case may be, was performed in perfectly kosher and permissible fashion? I mean, I think these are there. I mean, the whole thing has been tainted to an extent, and that does undermine, I think, the fan enjoyment of it as well. It also just undermines the notion of sport as a common denominator of society. It's something that we can all rally around. And to be clear, there's been a lot of things that have undermined that. Of course, the NFL, the NBA, they've oftentimes gone woke. They've gone pro-Chinese Communist Party. So there's been a lot that's undermined that. But this definitely isn't helping. This definitely is not helping the notion of sport as kind of a pro thing that we can all rally around there. So that's definitely part of the equation as well. But yeah, sports fans should be able to watch games and to not have questions as to the basic legitimacy and integrity as to the points that are being contested there. And part of that also comes on the back end of just prosecuting the crap out of these crimes when they actually do arise. Part of that is just the enforcement mechanism, how to make sure that that is going to be done really well as well. I guess my point of pushback to you, my gentle point of pushback would be on the notion of the genie being out of the bottle. I kind of don't necessarily agree with that logic in general. I don't really agree with kind of this kind of one-way ratchet view of history. To me, history kind of ebbs and flows. I mean, to kind of give a somewhat extreme example, Roe versus Wade wasn't overturned until 49 years later, right? I mean, it took a very, very long time to kind of put that genie, so to speak, back in the bottle. Only partially. There's a lot of work left to do in the pro-life issue, to be clear. I'm very involved in that particular fight, actually. But that's just one instance, and there's many instances of an issue that might seem like it is settled, but then all of a sudden some sort of political or legal or moral impulse can kind of then sway in a totally different direction.
And I understand that. And look, there's a lot of us that are excited because we've had to wait a year, and in a few weeks we'll be able to do this. We've been able to do fantasy wagering here with Underdog Fantasy and some of the other type of apps that are out there, but not straight sports wagering. So that's about to kick in, and we will have the ability in Missouri, because we voted on this, to do it moving forward. But I just have to admit that there's enough troubling signs even in the past 2 months that have gotten me to pause a little bit, and that's why I took interest in your points, and I understand them completely. And as someone who has promoted this and really wants to do it myself, I don't know what all the answers are. I really don't, because I worry about, people getting into trouble. We had a kid who played, Michael Porter Jr., who's one of the, names in the NBA. His brother, Jonte, played for Mizzou. Michael got injured right away, never really did much on our team. But Jonte is not a big name, and he gets involved. He was one of the first cases that came out of this, and it was because he had gambling debts. He wasn't making $30 million a year. He was wagering. Then he got into a hole, and as the psychology often happens, Josh, you feel like you can get out of that hole if you place a bigger bet, right? And that's where people get into trouble.
Totally. And look, I know here what I speak, right? I mean, I haven't wagered a sports bet in a long time, but I used to be a very casual, low-stakes gambler. And to your point about kind of the absurdity of some prop bet these days, betting on the speed of a pitch, Mark, I remember betting on the color of the Gatorade shower at the Super Bowl. I mean, that was literally a thing. I actually remember winning it with a blue Gatorade shower. It was crazy high odds one year. This is many years ago, but a lot of these bets are just they seem so frivolous and fun and enticing. And for someone who's like an adult who's been around the block there, I mean, adults are typically capable of making reasonable decisions, but I'm really just thinking here about younger men in particular. And here's kind of where the political vantage point comes in. I mentioned the post off your election lessons when it comes to affordability, cost of living. There's also been this whole conversation lurking in the background for many years now about this broader Trump-era MAGA push to try to refashion the Republican Party as the political coalition of the working men and women of this country, the working class and the middle class. And against that backdrop, it seems to me that there's a potential political angle here to try to appeal to the working men and women, the very types of folks who the gambling lobby in the industry is just consistently preying on when it comes to this sort of thing there. That's a potential political messaging opening. It would take a really skilled political messenger to try to get that message across, especially considering that DraftKings and all the various sports gambling sites are just pouring oodles and oodles of money right now into K Street and other Beltway lobbyist outlets. So it's an uphill battle, but it's a conversation that I think should, at a bare minimum, be taken more seriously, which is what impelled me to write the column.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is you're going to have more stories. Look, I think we're at the tip of the iceberg with some of the damaging accounts, and that's why what you were saying certainly resonated with me, and I think you make some excellent points. Always a great conversation, Josh Hammer. Thank you so much.
God bless you,
All right,
Mark.
take
Thank
care.
you.
The Josh Hammer Show, 1 p.m. Saturdays, right here, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, on the roads, we've had some issues tonight. We still have a jam. Westbound 44 in front of the Arch grounds and southbound 55 south of Arsenal down through Revis Barracks. Now, to the south of there, it's been okay. Westbound 64 lining up. And this is near Vandeventer, and this is going in pockets all the way out through the Boone Bridge. We've got eastbound slowing at the Boone Bridge as well, road work out there. Then slow pockets out through 70. 70 out of downtown, slow pockets, Jennings Station Road, out through Highway A. We've got southbound 270 lined up in pockets too. And that's from Page down through Gravois, southbound 170 slowing at 64. Not that bad at the Poplar Street Bridge if you happen to be headed into Illinois. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis. It's right there in Chesterfield Valley. And you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, Sue, I have tickets to give away, a pair of tickets for Guns N' Hoses. And, you know, we're doing the weigh-in. We've been talking about the live broadcast at Helen Fitzgerald's. But this is a pair of tickets for the actual event on Wednesday night. It's provided by Backstoppers. This is an event where we raise a lot of money for first responders. So if you're call number 6 right now on the contest line, Ethan will take your call. 314-241-9797. 241-9797. You get a free pair of tickets for Guns N' Hoses.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
If you're thinking about replacing your windows before winter hits, which is smart, don't keep making the same mistake. Stop replacing your failing vinyl windows on your home now with more vinyl. Lakeside Renovation and Design will install Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows. They're built to last, they're energy efficient, plus they look stunning, and they're custom built for your home. Installed by Lakeside's expert team, and they're going to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. If you're ready to upgrade your windows once and for all, you need to visit windowsbylakeside.com. Schedule your free consultation today.
Attention veterans and active military. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is doubling their usual veterans discount on all products and services in November. That means veterans and active military get 10% off all month at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, 10% off all doors, openers, and any service or repair. Details on their website. Schedule your annual garage door tune-up before winter really sets in. Just call 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I thought this was interesting, and I don't like it for over here because I'm a free market guy, although people probably, you guys might even disagree with me. But the UK is about to pass one of the world's most sweeping anti-scalping measures ever. So they're going to ban the resale of music, comedy, theater, and sports tickets for profit, which is kind of interesting. And you had artists like Dua Lipa, Coldplay, one of my favorites, Sam Fender, he was just here, Radiohead, and a lot of others urging Keir Starmer, the prime minister, to ban the practice. And apparently they're going to do it. Now, they're going to cap ticket resales at face value. You can still, if you can't make the show or something like that, you can sell the tickets, but you can't have a markup. That, I get that people don't want that, and I understand, but...
Is that for, companies that buy big groups of them and then resell them?
It's for everybody. I mean, when
I
you
mean,
say
is that
company,
the
you mean the
reason?
ticket
When that-
scalping?
Yeah.
No, I think it's just because they don't like the fact, and the Live Nation tried to do something about this. They don't like the fact that they're going to sell a ticket for a certain price and that someone out there is going to make a profit or more of a profit on the tickets that they sell. Now, this is a fine line to a certain extent because, look, the scalping industry has gotten very, they used to be really sophisticated before some of the technology, I think, blocked them. But you always would say, hey, wait a second, where are the good tickets? Why are they all swept up? And then the only place you can find them is on StubHub, right?
Yeah.
So it's frustrating to a lot of people.
I wonder what's worse, the scalping or the service charges?
Well, that's a good point, but we addressed that, remember? Because now they have to put the service
Build it
charges and build it into the
Oh,
price
that's
so you can see
right.
that. And I bought some tickets, what was it, a couple weeks ago, that Lord Huron show that I went to at Chaffetz, and it was kind of all-inclusive, which the pricing was. I mean, in other words,
Right.
it had
Right.
everything included, which I think was good. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is I started this last night, and I'm a little wishy-washy on Ken Burns because he's become so woke over the years, but he's obviously someone who's got a lot of chops when it comes to documentaries. And you also, as listeners, should know that I'm very excited about the 250th birthday of our country, which we're already kicking off the celebration. So as part of that, Ken Burns has a new documentary that started called The American Revolution. Now, Fred, you say you've watched the first 2 episodes, right?
I have. I've seen the first 2. I would love to. You want to hear what I think about what I've heard?
Absolutely.
Seen so
I've
far?
watched about 40 minutes of the first episode, and I didn't realize that the second episode was last night, so it should be in my folder in my library on YouTube TV.
The first thing, I love the narrator, Peter Coyote.
He's the best.
That's
isn't
the
he?
best
He is
part
so
of the whole
talented.
thing. They've
Yeah.
got a whole new roster of historians.
A lot of them are
which is-
similar to some of the other Ken Burns documentaries, but there's some different folks in there.
Yeah, I didn't recognize any of them. And in the first episode, I learned a whole lot about George Washington that I didn't know.
So
before.
did I.
It's like, wow, I didn't
Oh.
know all these British connections about just amazing stuff I didn't know about George Washington,
Including things he did when he was 18 years old.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I didn't realize that slavery played such a big part in the American Revolution.
Well,
I heard a lot about that in the first and in the second episode.
See, and that's where this is where I get a little questionable when it comes to what Ken Burns is trying to push. But what's interesting is there was a piece in the Federalist, not exactly a left-wing publication, that was written by a couple guys, Jeff Anderson and John Fonte, and they really recommended the documentary. They say that it primarily covers the period from 1775 to 1783, but I'm only like in the 1750s right now in that first episode.
Right,
They're
right.
well ahead of the Revolutionary
The whole
War.
first episode was before it started.
But the background is very interesting
Oh, yeah.
because it's almost like that part of the history that doesn't get discussed as much. It always starts with 1776 and the aftermath. So I find that a little intriguing. But my concern is this, Fred, as you mentioned the new people, the historians that pop up. The sense that I have from the first 40 minutes, and I want to keep watching this because I love this stuff. I really do. And I'm so proud of this country and what people stood for. And when you hear some of the words of John Adams and John Payne and some of these others, you get proud to be a part of this experiment that still is undergoing here, and we're about to celebrate 250 years of it. But then I see these historians that I don't really trust because I know that they work at elite universities in this country that are all about, DEI, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not blown away by the first 40 minutes because it seems pretty woke. I'm hoping, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to watch it because I feel a little bit of a responsibility here.
I learned a lot about Benedict Arnold too that I didn't know.
I've not gotten to that
Yeah,
part.
that'll be fascinating.
But they in the Federalist piece, which is I sent this to you. It's generally complimentary. They talk about how Ken Burns said that without question George Washington is the greatest hero of the Revolution, and he declares we don't have a country without him, and that becomes very clear. But then you get to the point where all these academics are quoted. One calls Washington, this is from the Federalist piece, an enslaver, falsely suggesting that he rounded up free men and put them into bondage instead of what he was. He was a slave owner. Then there's the guy that says, I think the American Revolution was all about land, despite the abundant evidence throughout the documentary that Americans were risking their homes and their livelihoods as well as their lives to be a free and self-governing people, right? So I don't, the spin is what bothers me at this point. But they also don't have anything, this is weird, maybe there's an explanation, from Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty speech. It's completely omitted from the documentary. Now, again, you have time limitations. Maybe there's not every part of history, but that seems to be a significant part of the revolution.
I learned there was a lot that went on in Quebec that I didn't
in
even
Canada,
know.
right?
Interesting.
There's little things about just the U.S. territories and what was going on in Canada, and also in the islands, right?
Right.
In the Bahamas and Jamaica and all these
Trinidad,
other
all
places,
that, yeah.
right? Exactly. So
And people wrote letters back then, so you actually have access to details that you would not otherwise have. I mean,
It's like
I guess,
finding their emails.
Exactly. We're going to have to go by email today, and nobody puts that kind of detail into it or feeling.
So
Right.
let me look this up because I'm going to ask a question.
By the way,
that's right at the
Ken
tip of my tongue.
Burns did get a new haircut. It happened in October of 2024. I looked it up.
Really?
Because he had that terrible bangs thing going.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, but that was kind of his thing.
It was
right?
that he mixed it up.
So this is 6 parts from November 16th
okay.
through the 21st.
Oh, that's
Each
cool.
episode is 2 hours long. The first one was on Sunday, and it continues each consecutive night through Friday. So every night, I didn't know that. So there you go. Every night this week. Check it out. With caution, of course.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We still have plenty of volume out there. Westbound 70 headed for Jennings Station Road and in pockets on out through the 64 split. Eastbound 70, there was an accident reported just past Salisbury. So some slow-moving traffic there. Westbound 40, a jam. And this is almost Vandeventer, and it's in pockets all the way out through the 70 split. Eastbound is slowing at the Boone Bridge. Southbound 270, pockets of mainly moderate volume, but it is from Page down through Gravois. Southbound 170 slow Olive through 64. Eastbound 40 slowing on either side of 170. But we look great on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by your local Lennox Premier dealer, Scott Lee Heating.
Scott Lee Heating's Premier Dealer distinction means you'll be working with the best the industry offers. Learn more about our special savings opportunities on Lennox products by calling 314-756-9444 or visit us online at scottleeheating.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
Have you set your appointment up yet to have your furnace checked to make sure you are good and ready to go for this winter? It's really great idea to have it done for your own peace of mind and for your safety also. Definitely check your furnace before you use it. You can go to my website. It's bartinman.com, and we'll have pictures up of what we've seen and what we've seen and found that the homeowners had no clue that this danger existed. Most have no idea what I'm talking about now, but if you went to the website, if you're not going to have me come out or another company come out and check, then you'll know what to look for on your furnace and hot water heater also. So my number, again, it's Bart Inman. One easy number, Missouri and Illinois. The easiest number, 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com, Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
5:35. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Well, the war of words between President Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene certainly didn't get tamped down today. Here is I gotta always think of this, MTG. There, I did it.
I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me.
So, in kind of association with this, the House, except for one person, voted to release all of the Epstein files today. And the only no vote, I want to see if I can read you what he said, Clay Higgins from Louisiana, who said, I've been a principled no vote on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. I'm not so sure that he's wrong about that, but this controversy has certainly heated up. Frank Miele is with us. I want to talk about John Fetterman with him, but I know that you've tracked the Epstein files story. What are your thoughts on Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump going at it here?
Hey, Mark. Well, I guess I'm finding myself in the minority of MAGA for a lot of these things lately. I don't know why. But I watched Marjorie on the Sunday talk show. I think it was ABC. I can't remember. No, CNN. And I studied it very closely, and I made a point of going through point by point everything she said, and I didn't find anything I disagreed with. And I don't disagree with her about this either. It is absurd that the president is breaking with her now over the fact that she wants the Epstein files released and calling her a traitor.
I don't think it's a good thing either.
She's a traitor to the Republican Party. That's one thing. But he's implying she's a traitor to the country. I think he is definitely going into some dangerous territory.
Well, he crosses into this. And, people should know, Frank says this as a very staunch supporter of President Trump and has been for many years. But look, I flagged a couple of things today. He clipped Mary Bruce from ABC News during this news conference or the, press availability with the Crown Prince. And it's one thing to go after Mary Bruce, which I think is fine because I think she's one of the worst, most, rabid anti-Trump reporters out there. But then he has to pull the FCC and Brendan Carr into the mix and make threats about the license. And I don't like that. That kind of stuff makes me very uncomfortable with Trump.
Right. It's totally out of, it's unacceptable, and he's doing it. And I hate to agree with the no kings people, but there are no kings, and you can't just do and say whatever you want, even if you're president. You have to follow certain protocols and certain, responsibilities. And it seems like maybe he's going over the edge a little bit. And I know it excites people who are on his side because, we've been waiting a long time for somebody to come and punch the media and, and say the things that need to be said. But he's really got to learn how to how to be presidential. How about that?
Frank, we've been talking about being presidential for 10 years. There's certain things that I've just accepted. Like when I heard him go after Mary Bruce today, I knew exactly where it was going. But, I guess I've defended some of the behavior because Trump being Trump has become a thing as well. But look, there's concerns
Right.
that you have, that I have, that other Republicans have. But then you look at what's going on the other side. Let's segue to that because John Fetterman to me is a very interesting character. And I mentioned to the audience a week ago on Monday there was a great excerpt from his new book that was in the Free Press, and it was quite something. It makes me want to read the book. And he talked a lot about his mental illness. He talked about the stroke, and he's such a relatable figure when a lot of us kind of wrote him off as some sort of kook or someone who was incapable of doing his job, especially in the aftermath of his stroke. But he's really become a unique figure in American politics here in the last couple of years, hasn't he?
Oh, exactly. I mean, that's, I wrote a column for Real Clear Politics, and the question was, when did I become a Fetterman Republican? And it's amazing to me because exactly like you, when he was running in 2022, I was like, this guy's a kook, and he's dangerous. He was a Bernie Sanders socialist, and then when the stroke happened and he seemed to lost some of his faculties, it just seemed completely inappropriate. He's wearing his sweatpants or shorts and his hoodie. It just is not acceptable as a normal thing, and so you kind of rebel against it. But you gave the guy a chance because we've had 3 years to watch him, and he has evolved into a real mouthpiece of common sense. And in that regard, he's like what Trump has been for most of us, as somebody who is authentic and
but his side doesn't.
Values.
But his side doesn't have that appreciation because they don't like him. They're trying to run him out and do hit pieces. Now, the one thing that I've always been confused about, and maybe I just haven't heard his explanation, but you pointed this out in the column. As common sense as John Fetterman is, he's still out there in the 5% on the trans sports issue, which is baffling to me.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to agree with everybody on everything, but that is kind of, it's kind of puzzling because it is such an obvious one that if he really wants to represent the people as they are, then that is something that is going to just tick people off. And I don't know where it's probably some remnant, thing that he picked up when he was on the liberal side, and he just is refusing to let that one go. I don't know why. You probably, want to get in with his psychiatrist and sit down on that session because it's way beyond my ability to make sense of.
But let's talk about this in the broader scheme of the Democrat Party, because I defend my peeps here in Missouri. We have common sense Democrats that are not unlike John Fetterman, even elected officials and people that I have on my show on a regular basis, right? But these are people that are way out there from the progressives, for example, on our St. Louis Board of Aldermen, or members of Congress like AOC, and people who are trying to rev up, potential candidacies for the presidency in 2028. So there is a huge divide. Now, you could talk about a divide between the Trumpers, the MAGA, and, the other side of the conservatives, the rhinos, whatever you want to call people. But there is a divide in the Democratic Party, and I would still think that the minority voices are being heard more than the majority, which is fine because they're going to, create their own grave here. But Fetterman's an outlier, and people that are trying to become part of the Democrat Party, younger politicians, Mamdani on down, they're not like John Fetterman in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes from fundraising. Clearly, the money in the Democratic Party is on the progressive side, the people in tech and, these Tides foundations and all of this, infrastructure of liberal, coming back down from the 60s. They have all the money. And if you want to make a splash at a statewide level, especially, or presidential level, you have to go through them. And it's we've got a corrupt and broken system of politics. I'm not in favor of cutting money out of politics. I'm not in favor of going to the point where corporations are banned from donating and things like that. But fact of the matter is they wield an immense amount of power. And so the liberals, and what's scary is the ones who, cater to that get nominated. But what's scary is they also seem to be able to get elected.
I know.
And
Yeah.
using that money, even though people generally don't agree with them about so many things, there's something about when it comes out. I don't know what it is. People refuse to be like active in making those decisions, and they're kind of led along like the Pied Piper. Somehow they get led into the water and over their heads. And it happens in Montana. I mean, every time we have a nonpartisan race like Supreme Court, the liberal 60, 70% of the time will win, even though their decisions for the next 4, 8, 10 years when they're on the court are going to go against what Montanans generally want.
And that happens because of the money, you're saying?
It's money, but it's also, I think there's something about conservative thinking that refuses to think the worst about people and is swayable to accept as normal that which really isn't normal. Somebody with greater intellect than me is going to have to parse that, but there is something going on, I think, in our society where the left holds sway. The fact that Gavin Newsom might be elected president,
right?
After all he's done to California, it's just scary.
It is. Frank Miele, always great to have you on. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident on eastbound 70 near Salisbury and one westbound at Jennings Station Road causing delays through there. Still a lineup on westbound 6440 approaching Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slow at the Inner Belt and also at 270. It's slowing again, and this is eastbound, but it's headed for the Boone Bridge. Westbound is not as bad. And out west, 70 looks pretty good, a little slow at Wentzville. Southbound 55 just slowing at Bates. We've got southbound 270 with mainly moderate volume from Page. Well, now it's almost Olive in pockets down through Gravois. And things look great if you are headed into Illinois. Really no delays on the bridges downtown. This report brought to you by Aspen Contracting, roofsbyaspen.com. Don't let cracked or missing siding leave your home vulnerable to St. Louis weather. Aspen has the crews, project managers, all of it, ready to protect your home and restore its beauty. Call today for a free siding inspection, 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We have an audio cut of the day before we wrap this show up, coming up next.
Police versus firefighters in the ring for charity. It's the 38th annual Guns N' Hoses event, the day before Thanksgiving. Catch all the action as we broadcast Guns N' Hoses live on 97.1 FM Talk.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than 4 for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
With this season's drought and high temperatures, demand for new sprinkler system installs is at its peak. Even with a little rain in the forecast, now is the absolute best time to put a new system in place, setting you up for a healthier, greener lawn next year. Don't let your lawn go through another season looking the way it does today. Take control now, and you'll never have to worry about the damage heat and dry weather can cause again. Call 636-695-7800 or visit ProOutdoor.com to schedule your new system installation today.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Sponsored by Progressive. We make the claims process easy so you could get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at progressive.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, I'm going to see a screening of Wicked tonight with my daughter. I'm very excited about that. But I'm also excited about, and I'm being serious here. Some people might think that I'm joking. There is a sequel out to the movie Zootopia, which comes out next week, Zootopia 2. The first Zootopia was so good. And Sue, I don't know that you saw it.
I did not.
Most people who don't have kids, they don't watch animated movies. But Jason Bateman plays a fox, and then, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the actress who voices the rabbit who goes from the country to the big city to become a police officer. And so Pete Maniscalco, who is one of the guys that runs all the movie screenings here in St. Louis, I've worked with Pete for years. We were communicating about the Judy Hopps, the Bunny movie, Zootopia 2, which is going to screen this Saturday, and I want to take Alexa to that. And I said, you know I have a bunny, right? And he had no idea. So I start sending him the pictures of Oreo. But one thing that I was just sharing with Sue, and I have a legit question for the audience, is I do love this bunny so much, and he, is very food motivated. He's a free-roaming bunny. So I was out of town the whole weekend. My wife was in Boulder. The bunny was out the whole time.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Wow.
But any of the damage that he's done, he did when he was younger. And I literally probably only have one lamp in my entire house that actually works, okay? Because like in our bedroom in particular or in the guest room, he shredded the cords. That's one of the things that they do. So is there someone out there? I have some really beautiful lamps that just need some cords replaced.
Yeah,
is that something you think I could do?
No.
Okay, good. That's
No.
good judgment on your part.
Yes.
But is there somewhere I could take the lamps and say, hey, these lamps work pretty well. I just need new cords.
That's a legitimate question, and I don't know the answer. Do you have an electrician come over and do it? I don't know.
Because you can do
Handyman?
I've had my vacuum cleaner, there's a couple of places where I take that to get. There's a place in Fenton I always take, and they replace if the cord needs to be replaced or something like that. But for a lamp, I've never done that.
Oh gosh.
I do love lamp. I want to say that in honor of Steve Carell too. I love lamp. Let's see this.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
All right, well, we're going to land on something a little lighter here, even though there were some tense moments in the Oval Office and at the White House with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and Mary Bruce from ABC asking a question about whether or not it's even appropriate for him to be in the White House, considering the Saudis' involvement of the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. But there was this moment as well, because apparently Trump's not a fist bumper. I like to fist bump, okay?
Yeah.
The reason is I don't like touching. I'm not like Howie Mandel with the germs, but I'm not crazy about touching everyone's hands, right?
Interesting.
Trump's the other way. He said, nope, no fist bumps.
We've worked with all presidents.
Does Trump blow them all away?
No, it's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President, and Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand. When remember Biden? He travels for 20 hours, gets out, and he gives a fist bump. No. When you get out of the plane and you got the future king and the man who's one of the most respected people in the world, you shake his hand. You don't give him a fist bump, right? We don't want to ask you about that, but I can't imagine you were thrilled. You were like a little bit surprised. Ain't that great?
I just love that. No fist bumps from the president, Sue.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we have accidents both east and westbound on 70. One is eastbound near Salisbury. The other was westbound near Jennings Station Road. A slow go in both directions. 6440 still lined up. This is approaching Kings Highway out through the inner belt. Southbound 170 slow at 64. East and westbound 40 both slowing at the Boone Bridge, but it's westbound that's really slow out there. And other than that, we're okay if you're headed into Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Attention veterans and active military. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is giving veterans and active military 10% off all month. That's 10% off all doors, openers, and any service or repair. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Looking for some iced caffeine, left you in the cold. No one knows why brown water costs as much as liquid gold. Told him your name was Brian, why does this cup say Nicole? But then you found paradise in your cup at the Quick Trip. No regrets to start your day.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Congressman Jason Schmitt is fighting back. He backed one big beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Congressman Jason Schmitt at 202-225-4404 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Mark Cox here. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
License